3, 2, 1. Blog Talk Radio.
Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to Ringside Reporter Podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
What was up with that intro? What was up? Did you hear it? It sounded like choppy or something like that. Was it just me, or was that thing choppy?
No,
it sounded
great.
fine.
It sounded almost as good as my flow.
It was fine. I don't know what you heard.
I know it was jacked up now, son.
Please, Robbie. Please, Robbie.
Please, Beeb.
All right. Hey, in case you haven't figured it out yet, we are live. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter Show, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, we'll talk about it here. My name is Eric Lorta, and I'm here with my co-host, Ringside Robert, and England's adopted son, Joe Habib. We got a great show for you today. If you want to call and ask some questions, you can call in right now, 323-870-3857. And we'll be here till about 9 o'clock tonight. And today, we're going to talk about Beeb. You better get your people in line, son. Carl Froch lands himself in the train wreck of the week this week. Beeb, I don't think I need to remind you that you are responsible for Carl Froch's actions this week.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's right. Boxing loses a legend this week, man. Very sad. But first, we get started with the fights on Showtime. Brian Castano versus Erislandy Lara for the WBA regular super welterweight championship. It's a very close fight here, man. I thought that Castano edged it, but I really wasn't scoring the fight. It was close. My big question though, after seeing these guys fight, I mean, it was ruled a draw, a split decision draw. But the thing to me here is, like, where do these guys go from here? Do you think they rematch? Is that the best option for them? I mean, what do they do from here?
They'll probably rematch.
I see immediate rematch coming.
That's one. But they'll.
Oh, stop it, Beeb.
They'll probably rematch though, because I think that Hurd will probably get try to unify. I think, and I don't think he'll fight Charlo. Obviously, he can't fight Charlo now, but maybe he'll fight. Try to fight Tony Harrison. Is that Tony Harrison Charlo rematch? Is that squared away? Is that being worked on?
That I don't know.
I haven't heard. So maybe I know that he wanted to fight Charlo. Jared Hurd did. So maybe he'll go right to Harrison instead and unify with him.
That's possible.
Who would Hurd unify with? Tony Harrison.
What were your thoughts on the fight? I mean, what were your thoughts on the fight, Beeb?
Well, Paulie Malignaggi made a great point. He said that he's noticed that Lara, as he's aged, is not moving as much, and he's starting to go to the ropes a little bit. And it kind of reminds me somewhat of how Mayweather used to go to the ropes. Later in his career, and he tried to suck people into traps. He'd get a breather. He'd stay there, slip and slide, bend at the waist, and be very elusive. But the thing with Lara is he's always been a guy that used his legs. Never a guy that had a lot of upper body movement. It was primarily his legs carrying him out of danger and escaping out the side when people tried to cut the ring off on him. But Castano did a great job of cutting the ring off, and I think Castano did a great job going to the body, and I think Castano did a great job of keeping the fight, up close, and he was applying a lot of effective pressure to Lara, because Lara does not like to fight on the inside. He could do it a little bit, but that's not his game, and he would be more suited to hold a lot on the inside. He likes to hold. That's what he prefers to do. But Castano fought out of the clinches, as was mentioned during the telecast. He did not accept the clinches. So I think Castano did very well. But Lara also did well in spots, too. When he did have the range, he was able to shoot that left hand from distance, and he was able to split the guard of Castano. And he made a little run too, Lara, because once he realized that the holding wasn't working, he actually started going to the body a little bit himself. He actually started throwing some uppercuts up close on the inside, so he changed it up a little bit. But then Castano took the play right back from him in the 11th and 12th round, and he started really applying the pressure, and it seemed like he was kind of wearing Lara down. So I thought this fight was very close. I gave Lara the first 2 rounds, and let me just take a look at my scorecard real quick and just kind of go over the rounds and break down why I scored certain rounds. I'll do it real quickly. So yeah, I thought Lara won the first 2 rounds, and then I thought Castano went on a run, like in rounds 3 through 7. I thought he won all those rounds, and then Lara went on a mini run 8 through 10. That's when he decided to switch it up and started to actually try to fight Castano off him a little bit. And then I think Castano took the play right back in 11 and 12. So this was a fight that was very close. You know, you could flip around. You could possibly flip that 12th round to Lara if you wanted to, or you could flip maybe the 6th round to Lara if you wanted to. So this fight could have definitely been a draw, or it could have been either way. But I think Castano should have been rewarded for his work rate and for his pressure. And I thought he was actually the ring general for most of this fight. He was the guy who was imposing his style and his will more so on Lara. But Lara did have some moments, but I just think Castano did that much more. But as Robbie mentioned earlier, no one really ran away with this. Like, no one really took the play away from the other guy 100%. So this fight was definitely in the balance, but I still think it was a very close competitive fight. But I just think Castano did enough to win.
Robert, what were your thoughts on this?
I thought it was very close, competitive, even throughout. I mean, you know, I said earlier, yeah, they're probably going to have an immediate rematch, but I have a feeling even if we did have an immediate rematch, we might have the same kind of results. It looks like these two, even though there's 9 years difference in age, it looks like these two are evenly matched. And, you know, I was shocked because normally when you talk to somebody about a fight, you know, they'll pick one guy over another. But in between fights last night, Brian Custer was interviewing Erickson Lubin, and he goes, hey, since you're in the division, who do you think wins the fight? And he clearly said, these guys are evenly matched. It wouldn't surprise me if it turned out to be a draw. And, man, he was absolutely right about this. So, I don't know. I enjoyed it. It was a competitive fight, very close, but I definitely had it a draw. I could not give one person an edge over another, and I just wonder if they do rematch, whether it turns out the same way again.
Okay. All right, Robert, I'm going to stop you right there because right now on the phone we have Doug Fischer from Ring Magazine, the editor from Ring Magazine. Let me bring him on here. Doug, how are you tonight?
Hey, guys, I'm doing fine.
Oh,
hey, what's up, Doug?
You, man. Great to have you.
Yeah,
hey,
good. Thanks for coming, you know.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Hey, man, one question that I've always wanted to ask you, and now that I've got you here, I always wanted to ask you, and if you can't answer it, that's okay, too. When Ring Magazine crowned Canelo the middleweight champion over Triple G prior to their second fight, I heard that you actually fought that decision. Is that accurate, and is that actually what happened?
Well, no, I didn't fight that. You know, Canelo Álvarez first won the Ring Magazine middleweight title by defeating Miguel Cotto. That was in late 2015. I think that was November 2015. Miguel Cotto was the WBC and Ring Magazine and lineal middleweight champion of the world. He won those titles when he defeated Sergio Martinez. And I think after Cotto beat Sergio Martinez, maybe he took an entire year off before returning, and then he fought Daniel Gill at like a catch weight, like 157-pound catch weight, which turned fans off, and a lot of people wanted to see Miguel Cotto defend that lineal title and the Ring Magazine title and the WBC belt against Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, who was sort of the consensus choice as the best middleweight in the game. But, you know, everybody wanted to recognize Triple G as the champion, and there was a lot of pressure on Cotto to fight Triple G and Cotto, he didn't have any plans to do that. I mean, he knew he was, near the end of his career, and that was a very dangerous fight, very high-risk fight for him, at least physically speaking. And so, when Canelo Álvarez agreed to fight Cotto, and the catch weight was no problem because Cotto had been fighting basically as a junior middleweight against middleweights in his last two fights, and Álvarez really was a middleweight, but he could still make 154, and they fought at like 155-pound catch weight. The expectation was that the winner of that fight was going to fight Gennady Golovkin. And that was the plan with the WBC, because Golovkin was the WBC's interim title holder, which basically made him the mandatory challenger for that green belt. However, Cotto abdicated the title going into the Canelo Álvarez fight, and a mistake that I think Team Álvarez made was when they fought Cotto, they went ahead and paid that WBC sanctioning fee. And so when they beat Cotto, and he outpointed Cotto, he won the ring middleweight title, gained lineal champion recognition, and he also grabbed that green belt. But upon grabbing that green belt, he also inherited Miguel Cotto's mandatory challenger, who happened to be Gennady Golovkin. And so immediately all that pressure that had been on Cotto switched to Canelo Álvarez's shoulders. And Álvarez held out for 2016. In fact, he gave up the middleweight title, WBC middleweight title, but he kept recognition as the lineal champion and the Ring Magazine champion. Now, a lot of hardcore fans were like, when he abdicated that WBC title, so he didn't have to honor that mandatory challenge for Golovkin, a lot of people were like, hey, Ring Magazine should strip him as well. But that wasn't our policy, Gennady Golovkin wasn't Ring Magazine's mandatory challenger. We don't have mandatory challengers. So the dispute between myself and the publisher of Ring Magazine at the time, which was Stephen Friedman, that didn't happen until Canelo Álvarez tested positive for clenbuterol, and then when Álvarez was suspended by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, that's when he came across our policy, which was if you test positive for a banned substance and you're either stripped by the sanctioning organization or suspended by the sanctioning organization or by the governing commission, then you get dropped from Ring Magazine's rankings. And if you have a Ring Magazine title, you're stripped of that title. And the publisher at that time said, no, it's not fair what the commission's doing. If this was another commission, the fight would have gone through, and Canelo's whatever. He had a whole thing. Canelo has cooperated fully with the commission's investigation, and in our view, he's proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that the clenbuterol contamination in his body, that was accidental. It was just he had contaminated meat, blah blah blah, the whole thing. But regardless, it was against our policy. He needed to be stripped, and they wouldn't let us strip him. And so this was basically like an internal struggle between the editorial board and the publisher, who also worked for Golden Boy Promotions, and Golden Boy Promotions, as we all know, owns Ring Magazine. And it's no secret also that Canelo Álvarez is absolutely the star of the Golden Boy stable. But myself and Brian Hardy and associate editor Tom Gray, we all fought against it for a long time. And they, to their credit, to the who's no longer the publisher, by the way, Stephen Friedman stepped down. It was like a month later, but they did do it. They did relent and say, okay, we'll allow you to strip Canelo Álvarez of the Ring Magazine title. So when Álvarez fought Triple G for the rematch, the Ring Magazine title was up for grabs. It was vacant, and Canelo won. Some feel it was controversial. I didn't think it was a terrible decision. I had it a draw myself, so I would have been fine with either Triple G or Canelo Álvarez winning that fight. 7 rounds to 5. but it was Canelo winning a majority decision, 7 rounds to 5 on 2 scorecards, and it was even on the 3rd scorecard, which I agreed with. So Canelo Álvarez is a 2-time Ring Magazine champion, and he remains the lineal champion at 160 pounds.
Wow. And when you were doing this, did you get any pushback?
So that's the story. Very, very convoluted. I'm the master of the long-winded answer.
No,
but I
you're
just want
fine,
everyone to
man.
have
That was
all the
great,
details,
man.
Because things get kind of twisted around. So it's like you were thinking that whatever I was against him ever being middleweight champion or whatever, and
right.
it was just about Ring Magazine following its own rules in regards to testing positive for banned substances. That's all it was.
Did you ever get any pushback for taking that stance? Because again, a Golden Boy does own that magazine.
Yeah, of course, of course, yeah. I mean, of course.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
they don't want to. Nobody wants to piss off. Listen, man. Nobody in boxing wants to piss off the money guy. Nobody. Listen, when news broke of Floyd Mayweather violating USADA and WADA protocol by having an IV after the weigh-in for the Manny Pacquiao fight, and then there was other, not just evidence, but there were records from the Nevada Commission, that stated for 2 of his previous fights he had a ridiculously low testosterone count, which is a red flag for somebody masking the fact that they took, synthetic testosterone, as a performance enhancer, right?
Right.
So these are all red flags. The IV after the weigh-in, and he wasn't dehydrated, but even if he was dehydrated and he did an IV, that was still against WADA and USADA protocol, and USADA was they were the anti-doping testing agents for the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. The amount of IV fluid that he put back into his body after the weigh-in, that was against the rules. But he got, whatever, he got, like, after effect, he got an exemption from the Nevada Athletic Commission. And nobody really wrote about it. Nobody really took him to task, with the exception of Thomas Hauser, right? And there's a reason for that. It's because Mayweather, at that time, and maybe he still is, who knows, Mayweather was the biggest draw in boxing worldwide. He was the biggest moneymaker, and right now, Canelo Álvarez, among active boxers who actually fight boxers, Canelo Álvarez is the biggest moneymaker, okay? So nobody wants to piss this guy off. Nobody wants to slap their wrists. Nobody wants to take them to task over anything they do, and that's always been the case in boxing. So did we get pushback? Yeah, we did. Absolutely.
Wow. Well, it definitely took a lot of courage to do something like that, especially, knowing that, like I said, Golden Boy owns the magazine. You got the money guy there who's in the same promotion.
Yeah.
So that's a tough thing
Right.
to do, man. Speaking of the money guy.
And a lot of people wouldn't do it. A lot of people who talk a lot of crap, by the way. A lot of people who say, well, whatever, the ring is just, they're Golden Boy shills, or they just, whatever, there's favoritism, which is total crap. I'm like, I'm from Missouri, so whenever anyone says that, I say, show me. Show me the favoritism. Show me in the pages of the magazine. Show it to me. And they've got nothing. They just like to say that. But the truth is, if something came up in their job where they had to stick their neck out, where by making noise they could jeopardize their job, 9 out of 10 times those suckers would keep quiet, and that's the truth.
Yep.
That's the truth.
That's true.
And we didn't keep quiet. Yeah.
I gave you a lot of credit for doing that, standing up like that.
For sure.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, guys.
Now, Canelo and Jacobs is coming up. This is a question I got, and I just kind of saw it this week, and maybe you can kind of clarify things or clarify the rule or whatever. Canelo Jacobs is coming up, and from what I understand, there's a 10-pound rehydration clause. Now, Canelo states that this is an IBF rule, and he didn't ask for it. But I thought this rule was null and void when it's a unification fight.
You're correct. If
Okay.
it's just for the IBF title, if only the IBF title, and I think the USBA title, which is connected, it's a regional belt that's connected to the IBF, they have a clause where a fighter cannot gain more than 10 pounds after the weigh-in, and I think it's a good clause. I think it's a safety clause, and I think really all the sanctioning organizations should do it. But when it's a unification bout, because the other sanctioning organizations don't have that rule, they waive that rule when it's a unification, and they started doing that after Golovkin-Jacobs, because Golovkin was limited to only rehydrating to 10 pounds, and Danny Jacobs said, "To heck with it, I don't care." I'm only fighting for the WBA belt or the whatever belt, the other belts. I'm not fighting for the IBF belt because I want to weigh in more than 10 pounds. And he did. He was heavy. I mean, he was just eyeballing him. I was there. I was at that fight. Eyeballing him, he looked like 179, 180 pounds. He really did. He was absolutely huge. And he's a big dude. He's tall and he's rangy and he's got the kind of bone structure and frame. He can comfortably carry 168 or 175 easily, and still be athletic. Canelo might say, "Oh, this is an IBF rule," but that's Golden Boy. That's Eric Gomez. That's Golden Boy looking out for him. That's Team Canelo. That's Eddie Reynoso saying, "I don't want my guy to be outweighed by 10 pounds or whatever, 6 to 10 pounds." Against Danny Jacobs. I want them both to weigh in on the day of the fight no more than 170 pounds. And, that's fair.
Yeah,
I think that's absolutely fair.
That makes sense for him. Now,
yeah. Especially it's like when you look at Canelo, he's not like he's on the Marvin Hagler-ish size for a middleweight. He's like, I'm not going to say he's 5'8", but he's no taller than 5'9". You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not a big guy. When I stand next to Canelo, I might be a little bit taller than him, He's a thick dude. He's a strong, muscular, athletic guy. He's thick, no doubt about it. But, Jacobs he's a modern-sized middleweight, if you ask me. I mean, he's big, but he's also athletic. He can move around that ring. He's fast. He's twitchy. He's powerful. He can be explosive when he wants to be. So if he's coming in there and he's like 175 or, between 175 and 180, that's a little bit too much of an advantage.
Gotcha. Now, speaking of Canelo, his arch nemesis, Triple G, Mike Coppinger from Ring actually wrote an article stating that Triple G is very close to signing with DAZN. Obviously, we all expect him to sign with DAZN. In your opinion, though, why do you think the process has taken so long for him, man?
I think Golovkin learned kind of late in his career, and probably from his perspective, too late in his career, because at the beginning of his career, he and his representative, Tom Loeffler, they had to make a lot of concessions just to get on HBO, just to get into a co-feature, slot or a main event slot on HBO, and throughout 2013 and even into 2014, they had to overpay his challengers, and he's a very proud champion, so he had to swallow his pride earlier in his career, at least here in the United States, when he was really in his athletic prime. And, sometimes overpay the challenger. Sometimes the challenger made as much money as he did. Sometimes it was parity. When who's the guy from Ireland, the Irish guy?
Macklin?
Former title challenger.
Matthew Macklin.
Matthew
Macklin. He made parity. He made the same amount of money as a challenger as the champion, Gennady Golovkin did. Yeah. But he had to do that. Macklin was the only, top 10 contender who was willing to fight Triple G at that time. And it's sad, in retrospect, people don't give Triple G any credit for beating Macklin. But Macklin was a worthy challenger. He was a former title challenger who had done really well against Felix Sturm, probably deserved to beat Felix Sturm. He had been very competitive with Sergio Martinez when Martinez was still at his peak. He was stopped late against Martinez, I think, but he was giving Martinez a really good fight. Golovkin should have deserved more credit for that. But so Golovkin had to swallow his pride and make a lot of concessions when he was still in his athletic prime. But during those years, 2013, 2014, 2015, he was developed and built into one of the biggest attractions, not only in America, but internationally. And I think he realized during the negotiations for the second Canelo fight that he has more authority, he has more pull than he realized. He has more leverage than he realized. And what he did with the Canelo rematch is he refused to take the terms that was handed to him from the Golden Boy Canelo side. He was kind of like, I think I'm worth more than this, and I'm going to hold out. And he held out to the 11th hour. He held out, and he stuck to his guns. He really meant it. He was like, you know what? If you guys don't want to take this fight, fine. I'll just go, I'll try to unify with Billy Joe Saunders, and they almost had that fight done. That fight was almost ready to go for the Forum here in Inglewood, where I live. That was almost a done deal. He had started negotiating on another fight rather than take the super lucrative, legacy building rematch with Canelo. He had stuck to his guns, and it worked out for him because, the other side relented, and they got help from the MGM Grand to where he wasn't making parity with Canelo Álvarez, but he was making a lot more than what was originally offered him. So what he learned through that process was that if he just sits out and he says, look, how bad do you guys want me? You know damn well I have fans. You know damn well I put butts in seats, whether it's New York City, whether it's the L.A. area, whether it's the O2 Arena in London, no matter where it is. You know damn well if I'm in against somebody like Canelo, somebody with a name, I'm going to sell pay-per-views. You know damn well if I'm on HBO, I'm going to garner the highest ratings. You know what I'm saying? Like he has that track record, so he knows who he is. So with HBO getting out of the boxing business and the emergence of DAZN and the emergence of the ESPN Plus platform and all of with the PBC and their investment or the investment into the PBC from not only Showtime but the Fox network over the next 4 years, there's a lot of money out there. There's millions upon millions out there for a fighter who's going to guarantee subscriptions, sign-ups, or just views, just good ratings if you're talking about Triple G maybe fighting on Fox or whatever. He guarantees that. So they're going to pay through the nose to get him. So there's a bidding war. So he's going to sit it out. He's like, you know what? I'm going to take a well-earned vacation. I'm going to enjoy my family time. My wife just gave birth, to my second child, a daughter, and I'm going to chill. I'm going to let these guys fight it out. And whoever gives me the best option, whoever gives me the best package, that's what I'm going to go with. So rumor has it now, DAZN has really stepped it up. They're giving him a really lucrative package that doesn't just extend to him, but it also extends to fighters that are under his arm, under his wing, guys that he manages or promotes under the Triple G Promotions banner. So, wherever he goes with, whatever platform he chooses to go with, it's going to be a very sweet deal, And so he's going to make up for all those concessions that he made in 2013 and 2014 and even in 2015.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. I mean, I imagine, because I know it sounded like PBC was making a big play for him. It sounded like a lot of people were making a lot of plays for him, man. Wherever he lands, I mean, it's got to be the most money. I mean, that's just, it just makes sense.
Yeah, and honestly, as a fan, it doesn't matter to me where he goes. I mean, if he winds up with the PBC, we can look forward to him fighting Jamal Charlo, not Jamel, maybe Jamel. Maybe both Charlos, maybe Jarrett Hurd, or maybe one of those super middleweights that they have. Caleb Plant or David Benavidez. That would be hellacious. That would be insane. If he were to go with ESPN, ESPN's doing business with Frank Warren now, so that would open up a showdown between Golovkin and Billy Joe Saunders. Obviously, DAZN though. DAZN's got all the middleweight titles. DAZN has Canelo. It's got Jacobs. It's got Demetrius Andrade. If he still has that as a goal, to be the undisputed middleweight champion, obviously DAZN makes a lot of sense. And obviously, if DAZN is saying, hey, we're also going to televise, your fighters, you can promote your own shows and we'll televise those shows, I know Golovkin cares a lot about the fighters he takes under his wing. And sometimes for some of these guys, that's almost as important to him as his own career. I mean, his legacy, to me, in my opinion, in 40 professional fights, he's carved out a Hall of Fame-worthy legacy. I believe that. I think he's worthy of the Hall of Fame just with what he's done so far in his career. So, if he wants to turn his attention to the fighters under his wing, guys like Ali Akhmedov, I take my hat off to him.
All right, good deal. Let's switch gears here, man. I want to talk about the big talk this week was the Tyson Fury news, the news that he won't fight Deontay Wilder next, that he signed with Top Rank and everything like that. Does this deal with Top Rank hurt Fury?
Yeah, ESPN deal.
What's that?
Does it hurt? Does it hurt Fury?
Yeah, does it hurt Fury in the sense, does it freeze him out?
Fury, to be quite honest, yeah. Maybe it freezes him out. Yeah, maybe. I mean, listen, it delays big fights. Obviously, it's going to delay the rematch with Deontay Wilder, and hopefully they can work out a deal before the end of this year. But it looks like Wilder's going to go ahead and fight on that May 18th date that was penciled in for the Wilder-Fury rematch. Maybe Wilder fights WBC top contender Dominic Breazeale. He's under the Al Heyman PBC banner. That's a makeable fight. It's kind of a grudge match they could build it into. But for Fury, listen, he's going to get some stick. He's going to get some criticism. He's going to, there's disappointed hardcore fans that wanted to see that immediate rematch. But, Fury has an opportunity with this deal to become the most popular heavyweight in America because Wilder, for as long as he's, reigned, I think, when did Wilder win the WBC title? I think it was
January 2015. Yeah, January 2015.
Right. So he's been, thank you, Robert. So he's been a title holder for, it's 4 years, but he hasn't really, it wasn't until last year that he fought anybody worth a damn. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't until last year that he was fighting legitimate top 5, top 10 heavyweight contenders. And one of those fights was on pay-per-view. The other one, against Luis Ortiz, that was on Showtime. And that did good ratings. That did more than 1 million viewers. That maybe did 1.5, maybe 1.6 million viewers on Showtime. But prior to that, he was fighting kind of a bum-of-the-month club. And it wasn't, he wasn't, definitely wasn't selling out arenas. And my point is, Wilder is known to hardcore boxing fans. He's not one of those guys who's known by general sports fans or even to casual sports fans. If casual sports fans know who Deontay Wilder is, it's because of the Tyson Fury fight or it's because of the Luis Ortiz fight. It's because of last year. And meanwhile, Anthony Joshua is arguably the biggest attraction in boxing, definitely the biggest boxing attraction in Europe, okay? He's a household name in the UK. Not so in America. He hasn't fought here in America yet. Now, Tyson Fury has fought twice in America, and his last fight against Wilder, there's parts of that fight that went viral. The highlights from that fight have definitely been viewed more than the fight itself. And Fury's antics and his personality before, during, and after the Wilder fight, that's gotten the attention of not just hardcore fans, but casual boxing fans. Now, if through the ESPN platform, he can become known to general sports fans, because that's where general sports fans go to watch sports and sports news. They go to ESPN. It's truly the worldwide leader of sports. But especially here in America, that's the biggest all-sports brand. If Tyson Fury can work his magic, work his charm on ESPN for 2 or 3 fights, it's conceivable that he could become the most popular heavyweight in America, more so than Deontay Wilder, definitely more so than his countryman Anthony Joshua. And if he can do that, he can be a huge star. If he can do that, then an eventual showdown with Anthony Joshua becomes that much bigger. The eventual rematch with Deontay Wilder, that becomes that much bigger and that much more lucrative for everybody involved, really. So, in the short term, yeah, it's a buzzkill. It's a bit of a buzzkill. But I understand totally where Team Fury is coming from. And it's a tremendous opportunity for Fury, for ESPN, and for Top Rank, and for Frank Warren to really, to take somebody who's got, that kind of personality that even casual sports fans can kind of be attracted to. Because me, myself, personally, I'm not a sports fan. I don't watch ESPN. I'm not into other sports. I'm not into team sports. I'm a hardcore boxing fan because I was attracted first to the sport by Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali attracted me to boxing through nothing he did in the ring. I was first attracted to Muhammad Ali by his personality, by the way he interacted with Howard Cosell. It was watching the build-up to his fight with Ernie Shavers that made me first want to watch a boxing match. And I didn't care anything about his boxing ability. I knew he was the heavyweight champion. I knew about boxing, you know what I'm saying? I knew about, the 76 Olympics. I remember watching, as a kid, watching the guys who the Americans who won gold medals in that Olympic Games. And I knew about them as pros, but I wasn't watching them. I didn't care to watch Sugar Ray Leonard or anybody else from the Olympics. I knew who Thomas Hearns was because I lived in Ohio and he was from Michigan. And people in Ohio talked about Tommy Hearns, as he was an up-and-comer. But I first wanted to watch a boxing match. I first circled a boxing match in TV Guide because Muhammad Ali was fighting Ernie Shavers, and I happened to see Muhammad Ali build up that fight the way he did. And Fury is like that. He's like a pro wrestler who boxes. And those type of talents, that doesn't come along very often, where somebody is a larger-than-life personality outside of the ring, but then they can actually box on the world-class level, maybe the elite level, inside the ring. It's very rare that it happens in boxing. So there's an opportunity, I think, that Fury and ESPN and Top Rank and Warren, they can make happen if they play their cards right.
Now, Dougie, in boxing journalism, it seems like everyone's looking for that big scoop, and sometimes a lot of these writers and these websites jump the gun sometimes. And as an editor, I know it's very challenging. Yeah. I know it's very challenging as an editor to determine
it's frustrating.
What you want to put out and what you don't want to put out. Being in that situation, how do you determine what's a good source, what's not a good source, and how do you determine what you want to put out? Have you had to pump the brakes on some of these stories yourself, as being the editor?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's part of my job.
Okay.
That's become a big part of my job. It's like a trainer, like a good trainer. A good trainer doesn't just push a fighter. A good trainer, a great trainer, knows when to pump the brakes on that fighter. A good trainer knows how not to overtrain his fighter. A good trainer knows how many rounds this fighter needs to spar. How many rounds in the bag, how many rounds total that he does a week or per month or per year or whatever. He knows when to say when. And that's just as, a fighter's rest is just as important as his exercise, as his workout. And with journalism, it's just as important to say, no as to green light what could be a huge scoop. Because it's very, scoops are a lot, first of all, does a scoop even exist anymore? We're in the social media age. I mean, somebody breaks something, and 1 minute later, it's being tweeted out there by somebody else who first saw it, and then they get credit for it, or with social media, a fighter can break it, the network can break it, the promoter can break it. It's not always the boxing scribe, the fight scribe, the journalist, the writer, the reporter that breaks it. And once you break it, within minutes, everybody else has it. So it's not like the newspaper days where you get something that the competing newspaper doesn't have, and they have to wait a whole day to get that. That's a true scoop, It's different now. But it's the problem with boxing is, and it's everywhere, but with the unnamed sources, nobody wants to go on record. Everybody wants to talk, but nobody wants to put their name on it. And that's for a lot of reasons. I mean, we're in a hypercritical age. People are paranoid. But I honestly think that boxing is more corporate, and it has more sort of company-type guys and attorneys, lawyer types that are involved with the networks and the promotion to where, when you're a lawyer, you're a bit of a control freak, as our corporate. There's a certain structure, there's a certain protocol, and they want to control every little thing. So nobody speaks out of turn. And to me, this is one of the problems between, good fights being made is that, they scrutinize every little single detail in putting together a contract and what have you. And I think it was simpler in past eras, past decades. But part of the sort of corporate litigious nature of the sport is everybody's paranoid. They don't want to talk. They want to talk, but no one wants to go on record. And sometimes it's trivial. It's like, you could have gone on the record for this. Get the hell out of here, but they don't want to do it. So in that case, if it's not a big deal and it's an unnamed source, I'm like, all right, go ahead, But what I will do sometimes with some of these guys, and our boy Mike Coppinger is he's impetuous by nature. And he's somebody I would just say, no, Mike, I know you got all your, ducks in order and you feel like it's safe, but I don't feel comfortable with this. No, unless you can get somebody to go on record, then no. The answer is no. And to Mike's credit, he's like, okay, I get it. I appreciate that. Thank you. But there's times where there's unnamed sources, and I'm like, you know what, man, you got to tell me who these sources are. And I'm like, how many you got? And he's like, well, I got 4 guys. I'm like, well, tell me, who are they? And, he's like, well, this person. And I'm like, okay, he's legit. This person. I say, she's legit. This person. I say, that guy doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. Toss that out. They're whatever. They're stroking their own ego. Who else you got? Oh, I got this person. I'm like, I don't trust that person. Oh, like, oh, well, I trust this person. I'm like, okay. You know what? The sources that I trust outweigh the sources that I don't trust. Okay, and it's that kind of process. And even then, it's like he'll put out, we'll put out a story, and then he'll be saying like whatever, the WBSS, the World Boxing Super Series, they're in jeopardy, and then they'll put out a press release saying, no, we're not in jeopardy. You know what I mean? And then one of Coppinger's sources that said it is in jeopardy will go on somebody's podcast and say it's not in jeopardy, And then I go to Mike and I'm like, Mike, how about this source you said you trusted? And then Mike will say, well, that source is lying to the podcast. And I'm saying, so why do you trust the source if the source is going to lie? And then boxing's insane like that. It's crazy. I pull my hair out. Over it because I'm an editor. I've been an editor for 10 years now. When I left Max Boxing to go to the ring, and first just solely for the website, as a co-editor with Michael Rosenthal of ringtv.com. Before I was an editor, I was a writer, and I was like the chief deadline writer for Max Boxing, and I always did advanced stories or whatever. And I didn't break a lot of stories because I wouldn't do it unless I had, really more. I was kind of old school with it. I wanted more than one source. If one side said a fight was done, but it hadn't been made official yet, and the other side wasn't going to go on the record, I wouldn't do it. And I always ask myself as many questions as I ask my source. And my main question I always ask myself before I run with the story, I say, am I misleading the public? Am I misleading the fan with this story? Am I going to get their hopes up if I'm saying a fight is done that isn't yet done? If the fight doesn't get done, did I mislead the public? And if somebody, just wants to dish dirt, this is what happens a lot in boxing. Sometimes people give you scoops because there's a lot of rivalries in boxing. So their scoop is, hey, I hear that PBC show isn't selling well. I hear they're padding the house, right? Or somebody on the PBC side to the top rank or the Golden Boy side. Hey, I hear that show isn't doing very well, or I hear that so and so might pull out of that fight. They're just saying that because they want to attack that promotion. You know what I mean? Yeah. Off the record, So it's like, okay, so what are you saying? Is this true or I don't know? Or it's like, hey, so and so's a scumbag. Is so and so a scumbag? Are they really? You know, am I misleading? Am I going with this is a juicy clickbait headline here, so-and-so's a scumbag, or so-and-so fight in jeopardy, or whatever. It's a juicy headline. It's clickbait. But is it true? You know, you have to. A reporter has to ask himself, his or herself, just as many questions as they ask the subject. You know, okay, is this true? Is this what? You know, and you got to. And the subject who gives you some stuff like that, you got to challenge them. Like, well, where do you get this? How do you know? You're not involved with this. Oh, well, somebody I know told me. I'm like, well, who told you? Somebody with a commission? Somebody who works for that rival promoter? Who are you talking about, man? See, I used to do that, and here's what happened. They'd get off the phone real quick with me, and they stopped calling me with that stuff.
Yeah.
When you grill them, when the unnamed source, right? Deep throat, okay, right? The dude in the trench coat and the hat pulled down, talking to you in a parking lot or on a park bench, right? Here's the scoop, you know, off the record here, you know.
Gee, it sounds like Watergate.
You could just sit there. You could just sit there with your right, Watergate. That's what I'm alluding to. You could just sit there with your tape recorder or your notepad and be like, you know, or you could be like, how do you know this? Where did you hear this? Are you sure? Oh, really? Is this? Oh, is that true? You know, you do that enough, they get nervous. Okay, here's the thing. If they get nervous and they hop off the phone and they stop talking to you, then you know they were just being shady. They were just being little rat bastards, right? But if they're like, no, for real. Well, here's how I know. They'll say, okay, I'll tell you what. I can't go on record, but you ask this person. I bet you this person can go on record. Or why don't you ask the commission? They can tell you. They're supposed to. They have to divulge this information. You know, that's the Public Information Act. You could, you know, and they redirect you like that, then they're legit. That's a legit unnamed source. If they can direct you to sources that will go on the record, okay, or they can direct you to other sources that will, you know, collaborate with them, that will agree with them. Like, yeah, that is true. You know, okay, then you go for it. But that doesn't happen enough. Why? Because everybody's in a rush. Everybody is very impetuous. They want to get out there. Everybody, you know, people's egos get involved and they want to beat the next person. Or it's like, it's not even just writing. It's like with a YouTube channel and they want views. That's how they make money. The more views they get, the more money. So the more salacious and scandalous headlines or titles that they write for their videos, the better. And they'll run with anything because they're desperate. They're desperate. They don't care. And because they don't have editors and people don't take them to task enough on that.
Yeah. I mean, because part of the reason I mentioned that, because, I mean, you brought his name up, because Mike Carpenter was talking about that Golovkin deal with DAZN, and he's mentioning that part of the deal was like he'd have part ownership in DAZN, and I'm like, how would he be privy to that information? I was caught off guard a little bit by that.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I was like, how did he come up with that?
Well, the fact that you asked that question, that means, you know, you could be a good reporter. Yeah. But here's the thing. Most people don't ask those questions. Most people, no, I'm serious. Most people just want that info. They want to absorb it. They want to take it in. They want to eat it. And they're ravenous. It's like it's the never-ending news cycle. No, just give me news. Like, most people are just desperate to hear anything about Triple G. What is going on? They can't stand not knowing. Tell me something. I don't care if there's no source. I don't care how crazy it is. Tell me something now. They'll take it. They don't, you know, they'll take it. But I mean, you know, Coppinger, usually it works out. Usually he's right. Even when they say no, it's not right. Usually, but not always. You know, I mean, listen, Coppinger was reporting that the Wilder Fury rematch was all but a done deal. He was saying sources say May 18, either at Barclays Center or Las Vegas. It's gonna happen. And then what happened? A week later, 5 days later, Tyson Fury saying, nope, I'm doing a deal with ESPN. Nobody had the scoop on that one, and I bet that burned a lot of butts. And good for Fury. Good for Fury. Good for Fury and Top Rank and ESPN and Frank Warren for keeping that under their hats. Because you know what? It ain't nobody's business. Let people do their business. That's another thing. I was like, I was always flying like, you know what? I don't want to get involved. I want the people involved in boxing, the managers and the promoters and the fighters, and their advisors, I want them to do their jobs without my interference. Let me know when the damn thing is done, and then I'll report on it, and I'll write about it, and, you know, we'll have a ball with that, you know. I don't like this, like, getting in, like, they're trying to negotiate, and us, the media, is, like, needling them nonstop. Well, what's going on? Tell me, like, you know, like, they really don't have to tell us. It's not like, these aren't like elected officials that we elected, you know what I mean? And we're telling them, like, okay, let us know what's happening. What are you guys deciding on? It's not like that, you know. It's like, you know, Top Rank and Golden Boy and Matchroom Boxing. It's not like the city council where it's like, hey, don't do nothing behind closed doors here. We voted for you, or we have a right to know what you're deciding on. It's like, no, they're businessmen. You know, they're companies. They have a right to do their business, you know, without our interference. You know what I mean? We have a right to criticize what they decide, what they do, what they deliver. We have a right to do that. But, I mean, we really don't have a right to be like, you know, let us in on the negotiations right now. I want to report this, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a weird, especially among millennials, there's this weird sense of entitlement where they're like, no, you got to tell us. People were doing that with Ring Magazine, like, tell us what's going on right now. What's up with Canelo? I'm like, what's up right now is there's an internal struggle. You know, I don't got to give you the blow by blow. Right? You know what I'm saying? You're not privy to that. You're not entitled to that. You know, let me do my job. You know, and let them do their job. You know, and when there's something to report, when there is a resolution, we'll make it public.
Now, you mentioned DAZN, you mentioned ESPN Plus. Obviously, boxing has gone digital now. It's part of the new age of the sport. What are your thoughts so far on some of these shows that they've been putting out? Are you happy right now with the product? You think they're doing a good job? You think they're doing as good as they proclaimed they would do with these apps?
Who are you talking about? ESPN?
ESPN Plus and ESPN Plus and DAZN, both of them. Do you think
for the most part, I think they're doing. It's solid. I mean, I watch them. I mean, I'll tell you this: I watch ESPN Plus more than I watch ESPN, the network.
Wow.
I watch the DAZN probably equally as much as I watch Showtime. And I'm like that with, you know, you said boxing's gone digital. Yeah, bro, entertainment's gone digital.
Yeah. I
watch Netflix and DC Universe and Hulu. And other streaming content via my Fire Stick more so than I watch anything on my cable package. I should cut the cord. I'm wasting money, as a matter of fact. But that's me. I mean, like I told you, I'm not a sports fan. You know, I don't watch NFL. I don't watch NBA. I don't watch baseball. I don't watch a lot of TV shows. I'm like a kind of a hardcore junkie boxing nerd, you know. I mean, you know, I tell people like this, you know, I bought pay-per-views nobody bought. Man, I bought when Vinny Pazienza fought Dana Rosenblatt. I'm probably the only person on the West Coast who bought that.
I know. I bought that too, Doug, and I live on the West Coast.
Yeah, Robbie, you're a total boxing geek, man, and
yep.
So am I. I'm just so. I mean, it's kind of hard to. And I'm also, I'm an editor. I have to watch boxing. I have a column twice a week where people are asking me about what did you think of this fight. You know, I knew. You know, like I watched the main event that Eddie Hearn did from England yesterday. It came on in the afternoon here in the States. With Jordan Gill in the main event.
Yeah, I watched that.
And I watched that solely because I knew somebody, because there's a lot of folks in the UK who read the mailbag and email me. I knew somebody was going to ask me about the dude. And I'm like, well, I better check him out. I better see if he's I've heard about him, but I couldn't remember if I'd seen him fight before. So I watched it, you know. So I'm going to watch more. I'm going to watch more than the average person. Now, have there been DAZN shows that I thought were kind of like duds, and ESPN Plus shows that I thought were duds? Absolutely. But I think there's been more that I've enjoyed that I haven't enjoyed. I do think there's a lot. They stream everything, and some of these cards they're long, you know. But, you know, if you're not a member of the press, you don't have to watch all this stuff. You know, if you're not writing a story on it, you don't have to watch. You don't have to watch all this stuff. But some of the shows were long. Even shows that I've covered, the zone shows that I covered, like the Canelo Álvarez Rocky Fielding show. That was a long show. I mean, I was like, I'm looking at my watch, like, geez, when is the main event gonna happen at 1 o'clock in the morning? Yeah, almost. You know, yeah, it was a long ass show. I prefer shows to, you know, at least the premiere part of the show to be, you know, no more than 2 hours, you know, and finish at a certain time if possible. Yeah. But no, for the most part, I appreciate it. You know, I appreciate being able to see shows. You know, I like it when ESPN, you know, will do some fights from Japan. I like it when the DAZN brings us shows from Europe. I like it. I like it all. I think. I mean, for me, like I said, I was a boxing geek, and you know, I was reading Ring magazine in the '80s and in the early '90s, and I'm reading about guys like Kaosai Galaxy and you know, these like junior flyweights from Korea, you know, in Japan, and I couldn't see them. You know, I wasn't able to see them. And I wanted to, you know, I wanted to see these junior bantamweights and bantamweights from Thailand and the Philippines, and I couldn't see them. You know, every now and then I get lucky, and they'd fight a Mexican, and then, you know, like on tape delay, the Spanish language, you know, like Univision would play them on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and I'd be able to see, like, you know, Victor Rabanales against Joichiro Tatsuyoshi. They called him the Japanese Arturo Gatti. You know, I think he was a bantamweight. You know, and I'd see these fights, or I'd see oh God, who was the really good junior featherweight from Mexico who Eric Morales beat? Robbie, help me out here. Who was Zaragoza? You know, Daniel Zaragoza.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Fight somebody, and I'd be able to see that, like maybe on a tape delay. I didn't care. You know. I'm in college, you know, and I'm able to watch it on the Spanish channel, you know, the terrestrial Spanish channel when I was you know, attending Columbia in New York, you know, New York City. So, you know, every now and then I get lucky, but most of this stuff I wouldn't. I was like, how good is this guy? I wanted to know. I cared about these like guys from Japan and stuff like that. And these days, you know, thanks to YouTube, you can see pretty much everything you want to see. And from streaming, you can see them live most of the time. I mean, to me, it's like it's boxing nerd paradise right now. So I'm loving it. I'm loving it all, really.
Now, back in 2015, when PBC first came, into boxing, a lot of people were saying the money's going to run out. But now we're here in 2019. PBC is still alive and still going strong. What are your thoughts on PBC now? Do you think that the product has improved? Do you think that the brand has improved? And obviously, the deal with Fox and the extension with Showtime is really big news for the for boxing.
Yeah, it's good for us. Yeah, it's good for fans. And I think they've also done a deal with ITV.
Correct.
In the UK, so it's good for the British fans, who are probably the best fans in the world. I think PBC failed as like a takeover attempt. You know, when during like 2014, when Heyman was just signing up everybody, and like his stable exceeded 100 fighters, and it approached like 200 fighters, and they were doing the time buys. You know what I mean? And taking over networks and pushing promoters off of like NBC and ESPN and Fox Sports. You know, and doing the deal with Spike and all that. That didn't work out because Al Heyman is a great manager, and he's he's an astute businessman and money man, but he's not a great promoter. So they weren't making the right fights. So you had these guys who were positioned to become stars, like they had been developed under the Golden Boy banner and fighting on HBO and Showtime. They had a following, and they were doing solid ratings, and they were at their physical peak. And they were all undefeated and sensational, like Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia and all. And they start off, at the start of 2015 with Keith Thurman headlining. I think he fought Robert Guerrero, on NBC, and it did, did a great ratings and all. But just the way they orchestrated it, the way it was organized, the matchmaking from that jumping off point, it just wasn't the right fights, and then they didn't make the right fights. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have you've got Keith Thurman fighting Guerrero on NBC, and then a month or two later you have Danny Garcia fighting Lamont Peterson, either on NBC or maybe that was on CBS or maybe it was Spike. I don't remember. But instead of immediately having Thurman fight Garcia, or putting Thurman in against another, welterweight title holder or whatever, and, immediately unifying titles and all that, they take these side steps, so it's Thurman, and then they're jumping from platform to platform. You got Thurman suddenly jumping to ESPN and fighting Luis Collazo, and it's like, what? Okay, and then, from there, going to CBS, and it's like Thurman should, if you look at Thurman's personality and his talent and his record, and eventually who he fought in his record, like he should be huge, right? But he's not. It's like he's not even a factor. It's weird. It's like, and that's like, to me, he's like the poster boy. Thurman and Gary Russell Jr. are like the poster boys of the PBC takeover attempt, okay? It's like, you got the talent, you got the American talent, and they're talented, undeniable, man. You look at them like, these guys are good. These guys, they're the top of their division, maybe they don't beat everybody, but they'll beat most guys in their division. But the fights aren't being made, and they're not fighting often enough. So it was weird, it just, that fizzled out. That came and went. That's not even talked about anymore. But to Showtime's credit, once the money ran out for the time buys, and Heyman began bringing back the marquee talent to Showtime, Steven Espinosa had some standards and was like, yeah, these guys are going to have to fight each other, okay? So you had, I'll tell you a good one. It was the Fight of the Year candidate, Erislandy Lara against Jarrett Hurd. Yep. Showtime delivered that, so that was good, So there was a couple years where they were trying to, do the, what was the mantra? It was free boxing for all.
Well, yeah.
But I guess it should have been free boxing for now is what they really should have said. Free boxing for now. Free boxing until the money runs out. And then we're going to go back to Showtime, and we're going to do a deal with Fox, and our big fights are going to be on pay-per-view, So, that was the truth of it. That's what we're seeing now. And we'll see how it plays out, but, they still have the biggest stable of American talent, at least. I mean, I know Golden Boy has a big stable. Eddie Hearn has a big stable, but it's mostly UK talent. They do have some good Americans on, like Daniel Jacob and Demetrius Andrade and so forth. But the biggest stable of American talent, American title holders and contenders, is still Al Heyman's PBC. And if they fight each other, everything's going to be great. They'll get the ratings they want. They'll even get the pay-per-view buys they want if they match the guy. If they unify these titles, they give the public real champions. How do you determine a real champion? Well, damn it, these belt holders have to fight each other, and if they do that, it's all good.
And a lot of the sanctioning bodies now have multiple titles. And that makes it confusing also.
Yeah, they're not making it easy. No, they're not making it easy. They're not, because you know what? Networks like guys with belts. Well, even if they say they don't, they do. And the fighters certainly like the belts. And if the fighters or their management are willing to pay the sanctioning fees, can you blame them for not? Can you blame them for not putting out these belts?
Yeah.
I mean, Ring Magazine doesn't go crazy with the belts, in part because we want to be viewed as the real champion. But also, shoot, we pay for these damn belts, and we don't charge nobody nothing. We ain't charging nobody. Man, we ain't gonna make a diamond belt and a whatever. Man, we got it. That costs money, man. We get a bill. So But you know,
well, Doug, I've got a question. You were talking earlier about all the
they're
suits.
getting some money back. They're making the belt, but they're getting some money back on that. You know.
Yeah,
It's all good.
you were talking earlier about all the suits being involved with the corporate and the promoters and the networks.
Yeah,
Is
more
there
corporate than it's ever been.
is there ever going to be a day where all of the promoters who have all the major talent will actually work together? I'm thinking along the lines of Terrence Crawford. He's fighting Amir Khan in April. Khan's a good name, but, you know, realistically, he should be fighting the Earl Spence, the Keith Thurmans, the Sean Porters, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we want to be excited about Crawford because he's a top pound for pound talent. He's a complete fighter, but he's in a division where all the belt holders are on the other side of the street. And yeah, I mean, you know, arguably Amir Khan is the biggest name, most accomplished fighter that he's faced, but we all know kind of how that fight's going to go, you know? Like
yes,
I'll give
we
you an
do.
example, like you know, Crawford's going to be on the cover of the next Ring magazine, and I was, you know, we didn't put Amir Khan on the cover. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, it's like now it's pretty much about Crawford and what's, you know, we're already thinking, okay, what next? You know, I think something can be worked. Here's the thing. The streaming services, the platforms, the networks, they've invested a lot of money in boxing. They're putting a lot of money out there to Team Canelo and Golden Boy, you know, Anthony Joshua, and maybe, you know, like DAZN, maybe Golovkin, you know, and ESPN is coming up with a lot of money for Tyson Fury. And Terrence Crawford, he's got an awesome minimum. I mean, he's making at least $3.5 million whoever he fights, you know. You know, Fox and Showtime, you know, they've entered multi-million-dollar, multi-year deals with Al Heyman. They expect some return on this investment. You know, they're going to tolerate only for so long a certain return on that investment, meaning they got to get some real pay-per-view buys. They got to get some awesome ratings to bring in, you know, advertisers. They got to get, like, sign-ups like crazy. You know what I mean? And if they don't, they're either going to drop boxing and say, you know, our money is better spent elsewhere, or they're going to have to do business. And, you know, the thing is when there's enough money on it, when there's a big enough fight, you know, different networks and platforms and promoters, they can work together. We saw it. We've seen it with Tyson versus Lennox Lewis. You know, that was a Showtime, HBO co-production. You know, we saw it again with Pacquiao, Mayweather, and we saw it on a different level with Anthony Joshua versus Vladimir Klitschko. Both HBO and Showtime were after that fight, and they just made a deal. They're like, okay, Showtime, you run with it live, and HBO, you know, does the tape delay and puts it in a traditional primetime slot. You can work things out, you know. There's deals. I think that can be worked out, you know, especially with the streaming platforms, you know, because they have different goals. You know what I mean? It's like if you're Showtime, you know, you want subscribers, you know, or if you're doing a pay-per-view, you want the pay-per-view to sell, and you know, you want the revenue from there. But if you're ESPN Plus or if you're DAZN, you want people to sign up. You want people to download that app and basically subscribe to the streaming service, and you want to retain them. You want to get well over 1 million. You want 2 million. You want 5 million. You want 10 million. So there's ways to do that where it's like, okay, you could do a deal where there's a DAZN contract fighter against a Showtime fighter, and maybe it's a pay-per-view that is carried. Let's say it's distributed on SET, you know, Showtime's pay-per-view arm, but it's a co-production. So you know, it involves DAZN's production, and you work together on the pre-shows and stuff, and you blend the commentators and the production company, you know, the production workers and all, and you co-produce the fight, and then Showtime airs it live as a pay-per-view on their platform, but then all the rebroadcasts. The only way if you don't tune into it live, pay-per-view, the only way to see it is to subscribe to DAZN. You know what I'm saying? And and maybe DAZN, they control the highlights, right? So, did you miss that Showtime pay-per-view? Okay, well, here's a highlight. It was a classic fight. You want to see it? They put it out on their social media and their YouTube and all that, and people are like, damn, I missed it. You're going to have DAZN. Okay, I guess I'm going to sign up, and it's just, it's business. There's ways to compromise. Maybe right now, because everyone's kind of new into these deals, they're kind of protective of their own talent, and they're not willing to risk them yet. But with the money that they're doling out, they gotta, it's like look at Canelo, right? Canelo, for his first fight on DAZN, he got a gimme fight. He got Rocky Fielding. I think we all knew what was going to happen, and it happened. He blew that guy out the water. He outclassed him, okay? He couldn't have another guy like that. If that wouldn't have worked with DAZN. Who's going to sign up for DAZN just to watch Canelo knock over guys we know he's going to knock over? They had to make the fight with Jacobs. They had to. There was pressure. They had to make that fight because that's a fight. That's a fight. You can conceivably see. Maybe Canelo's the favorite, but you can, you know it ain't easy. You're kind of like, you never know. If he has a bad night and Jacobs has a good night, could be an upset. So you want to pay to see that, So how do you pay to see that? You sign up for DAZN. You pay your $10. So, and if they're going to retain these subscribers, they got to keep delivering fights like that. Not once a year, a couple times a year. So the pressure is on to make quality fights. And at some point, these guys on the different platforms, these platforms are gonna have to do business just to recoup their investment, just to make their investment worthwhile.
That's a very thorough answer to a very simple question.
I'm sorry, I am the king of the long-winded answer.
Well, no, because seriously, well, we deal with people that call our show every week that always say, well, why can't this guy fight this guy? And we spend more time talking about the money aspect and the promoter aspect and the network aspect. So it's good to have a guy in the media business be able to come in here and break it down so people would understand.
No, hopefully that was understandable.
Yeah. Another question.
A complete ramble. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Doug, I could. I've listened to you over the years do podcasts and I've heard you at Ringside and. So I know you know what you're talking about. That brings me to another question. You wrote boxing, now you're an editor, but you've also done commentating at Ringside. Which do you enjoy more? Because you're very good. You're very good at Ringside when I've heard you.
Oh, thank you. I get a certain, believe it or not, in editing's a thankless job because you don't really get a byline for editing. Nobody sees you edit. They'll see the product, but there's a sense of satisfaction on helping to bring together a magazine and seeing the final product in print tangibly, like something tangible, and knowing what went into making that product and how the stories came in and the work that's done. And a lot of that work is done by managing editor Brian Hardy, and Tom Gray helps. You guys know David Greisman? You guys are familiar with him? He's a boxing writer. Yeah. He's a proofreader for us. He works for us as a proofreader. He helps tremendously. So it's a collaborative effort. And it's a lot of work, but when you can make people's writing better, and you have a certain standard, that's I like that. It's satisfying. I wish I had time to write more, and I just don't have the time to do it. It is a goal of mine just to visit more gyms this year and do stories like that. But there is, commentating to me, it doesn't come naturally, and it's one of those things where while I'm doing it, sometimes I feel self-conscious, and I have a thought in my head while I'm watching a fight and commentating on it, and sometimes my words don't sync up with exactly what I was thinking. It doesn't come out the way I wanted it to come out, and I'll be kind of hard on myself, and I'm like, that wasn't very good, But then somebody will say, like, oh, I heard you last night on that, Thompson boxing stream. You were really good, like, really? I'm like, oh, that's good to hear. And then I'll listen, I'll play it back. I'll watch it. I'm like, oh, that sounded just fine, or whatever. And that's really satisfying. So the commentating it's a challenge. And so when you have a challenge, you want to get better, and we can always improve on things. I've been doing the writing and the editing longer than I've been doing the commentating, although I have done the commentating for quite some time now. But I don't do the commentating as much, so it seems newer, it feels fresher. So, maybe right now it's, with the commentating, I probably get more butterflies for that. And maybe I'm a little more up for that sometimes, because it is a challenge. And it's not as easy as it seems. So these guys, like, some of these former fighters, like Malignaggi, he's excellent. He's doing what a lot of fighters can't do, are unable to do. And I think Sergio Mora is really good. Kevin Kelly, who works with me on Tom Loeffler's Hollywood Fight Night streams, he's very good. I'm always impressed by the former champions or the former professional boxers that are good behind the mic, because it's not easy. And of course, the veterans like Al Bernstein and Steve Farhood, like they're just I'm amazed by how good they are. Barry Tompkins, man, he's been around forever. I love hearing him. I like the old guys. I like listening to the guys that I listened to when I first started, like really paying attention to boxing. It's kind of cool because some of them aren't around. Like some of my favorites don't do it anymore. Like Tim Ryan. He used to work with Gil Clancy. Gil Clancy obviously passed away a long time ago. So they're not around anymore. And I used to enjoy Dan Deerdorf, the former football player.
Yeah, ABC.
With, Alex Walu. I like those two. Obviously they don't. They're not around.
Yeah, Tim Ryan. By the way, Doug lives in the Bay Area. So.
Does he really? Oh wow.
Yeah.
Isn't he Canadian?
Okay. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Canada. But he lives in San Jose now. So.
Oh, San Jose, cool. Does he still do? Because I don't follow on other sports. Does he still do broadcast work, or is he retired?
No, but he's a San Jose Sharks season ticket holder. So whenever you watch the Sharks hockey games, you see him in the stands all the time.
How do you know that?
Oh, really? That's great. No,
how do I know that, Eric? Is because I'm a Sharks fan and I watch all the games. So there you go.
You're a Sharks fan, yeah.
About someone.
Yeah.
I would love for boxing to go back there. One of the better cards I saw when I first started working for the Ring was this triple header that they had at that arena in San Jose. I think it was James Kirkland was on it. I think James Kirkland fought Julio. Was his name Jorge Julio?
I think so.
Colombia, and Robert Guerrero was on it, and Victor Ortiz fought Mike Arnautis. And they had a good undercard of locals. Yeah, that was a good card, yeah.
Well, I live north of Sacramento, and so when Arco Arena was really popular, when we had the Tony the Tiger Lopez fights and Bobby Chacon, and
Lopez.
So
wow.
Yeah.
Remember Loretta Larza? Garza?
Absolutely, I do. Of course, I do.
Loretto Garza, the 140-pounder. Yeah,
that's right.
He beat Vinny Paz, right?
Yeah, yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and don't forget, Diego Corrales came out of Sacramento.
That's right.
Kid.
Most of his early fights were at Arco Arena. Yep.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Thompson Boxing does a show from in Sacramento. I'm going to be there, I think, in June. I'm looking forward to that. So
Yeah,
I'll be there with
now
Tyler Duran and the whole Thompson boxing crew.
I've never been to the new Sleep Train Arena, so I don't know how it does for boxing. But I know when they had the old Arco Arena, especially during those Lopez fights, man, those were packed houses.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to see him on TV. I used to watch Lopez. Lopez had a contract for a while with NBC, as did Jorge Paez, and they fought each other. I think their fight.
Yes, they did. Mm-hmm.
I remember watching that fight. That might have been 1990. It might have been summer in 1990. I think. Yeah, there was.
It could have been 89 or 90.
Now, but I used to see on TV. Might have been 89. You might be right about that. I remember watching it though. I remember there being a real mystique about West Coast fights for me when I lived in Missouri and Ohio, and when I was in college in New York City and all. And because I hadn't been out there, and I would see. You didn't with Ring Magazine. You got more East Coast coverage than you got West Coast coverage. So you just got a little bit of a taste of the West Coast, and a lot of it was like from their archives. They'd have like a picture in the back of the magazine of like Bobby Chacon fighting at the sports arena or at the Olympic, and it was just a black and white photo, and you see these fans that were like idolizing this guy, and you're like, what the heck is that like, to be at a fight where it's like 99.9% Mexican, and they're going crazy for this guy, and it's a terrific fight. Like I used to wonder like, what's that like, and then I would see fighters like Lopez and Paez on network TV, and then later on the Prime Network, I used to see the fights from the Forum, and I would watch Gennaro Hernandez fighting guys at the Great Western Forum, and I was like,
I remember those fights.
I want to be there one day.
I remember those fights, especially when Chick Hearn used to do
making
them.
a point like one day. Yes, Chick Hearn, exactly, and I used to say, one day. I wasn't thinking I was going to cover the fights. I didn't know I was going to be a boxing writer, but I was thinking, so one day, as a fan, I'm going to be there, and I'm going to watch this guy fight. I'm going to watch Gennaro Hernandez. I'm going to watch these guys because it was different. It seemed like a different atmosphere, and the way they fought. I remember I was watching Gennaro Hernandez fight, I think it was Raul Perez, a former Mexican champion at 122 pounds, who went up to 130 to challenge Hernandez, and I think this was a rematch, and they just were in front of each other. They were just stood in the pocket, but they were blocking and counterpunching and working the body, and I could see the craft. I was watching it, and I was learning like a new style of boxing, watching them real close, and I was thinking, man, how do they do that? This is incredible. Why aren't they moving around the ring? It was like blew my mind. And then Hernandez caught Perez with a body shot and paralyzed him. And he was just down on the canvas, couldn't move. And the fight was over just like that. And I was like, holy crap, I gotta go to these fights, man, one day. And, sure enough, I got the opportunity to work for a newspaper in South Central Los Angeles. And, within 9 months of moving there, I found a gym, the LA Boxing Club, and guess who trained there? The late, great Gennaro Hernandez, along with a kid named Shane Mosley, Sugar Shane Mosley, and everybody else, man. It was crazy. And every Mexican fighter that fought at the Forum, 2 weeks out before their fight at the Forum, they would move their camp from Mexico to the LA Boxing Club. And so I watched Chiquita Gonzalez train. He was amazing. And Marco Antonio Barrera and the Marquez brothers, Juan Manuel and Rafael Marquez. And who knew? Like, who knew at that time those guys were going to be future Hall of Famers? Maybe all-time greats. Like, I didn't know. They were in their early 20s.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's crazy, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Listen, Dougie, we appreciate you calling, man. We appreciate you coming on, man. It's been great. What an interview, man. Thank you so much for giving us all this time, man, on a Sunday night, man. Taking time.
Oh, anytime, guys.
So we appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for calling, man. We'll have you back one of these days.
Yeah, we got to do this again, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. See ya.
All right. What an interview, man. That was great, man.
Oh, he's absolutely fantastic, Eric.
Robbie,
I mean,
the interruption count meter broke after that interview.
Oh, Jesus.
It
Here
broke.
we go.
It broke.
No, come on.
It broke.
All right. All right, so we covered the let's go back to the fights here. We covered the Brian Castano fight and Erislandy Lara. Ended up in a draw. Louis Ortiz versus Christian Hammer. Louis Ortiz won a unanimous decision by the scores of 190, 99, 91 twice for Ortiz. Ortiz, I thought, made this fight look pretty easy, man. But I think he's definitely lost a step since the Wilder fight. To me, he looked every bit of 40 in this fight. He called out Joshua and Wilder after the fight, and I was watching the fight with my dad, and I said to him, I said, can you imagine him in there with Anthony Joshua right now? I mean, he would be demolished. And then, Wilder also would do the same thing again. But
yep.
I don't know, man. Didn't look great. Beeb, any thoughts on this fight?
What I noticed with Ortiz is his defensive reflexes are starting to dull a little bit. He's not as sharp defensively anymore, and it's a lot to do with his reflexes. I think he's getting hit with right hands more so often than he had in the past. And Hammer is a decent, solid guy, but he's not supposed to be able to compete at this level. And I'm not saying he did compete, but he did compete in spots. He was landing some pretty good right hands and some good jabs in the fight. He actually bloodied up Ortiz's nose. He staggered him once too. Did he win rounds? Maybe one or two if you would want to be generous, but he still had moments in some of these rounds, and he made Ortiz look human in spots. And I was a little bit surprised seeing Ortiz get hit as much as I did last night, even though he pretty much won every round.
Yeah, I thought
yeah,
so too.
you can kind of see that Father Time is starting to.
It's another cutoff.
You can see that Father Time is starting to make its presence known, and I don't blame Ortiz for calling out the champions, because I don't know how much longer he will be the feared, King Kong Ortiz.
Absolutely. And then on DAZN, I didn't catch this, but Jordan Gill versus Emmanuel Dominguez, featherweights. Jordan Gill wins via third round TKO over Dominguez. Beeb, you mentioned did you see this fight?
Yeah, I watched like highlights of it, kind of, yeah. And I kind of watched the end of it a little bit, and it was a very one-sided fight. So
it sounded like it. Yeah,
it was a blowout. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
And then on the undercard of there, Anthony Sims Jr. versus Mateo Damian Verón. Sims wins via 6th-round knockout in that one. So there you go. DeBella Entertainment was in Columbus, Ohio, Titletown. Did you? Not for nothing. Did you hear Doug Fischer mention that he's from? He used to live in Titletown. Did you guys hear that?
Yes, he used to live in Ohio. We heard that.
Yeah, he only lived there for about a year and a half.
It's still Titletown. He's still one of us. All right.
He was visiting his aunts and uncles.
He knows, buddy. He knows.
He doesn't really live there. He's just trying to make you feel good.
He was passing through.
It's a little summer vacation. That's all it was.
All right. So on DeBella Entertainment from Columbus, the Arnold Classic in Columbus. Junior 5 versus Nufel Ota. That's what I'm going with, man. I don't know. Going with it. Junior 5 beats Nufel Ota by TKO in the first round. It was a pretty bad mismatch here. Fi had 4 knockdowns in the first round before the referee stoppage. So, there you go. So, it was on DB1. I think it was, what is it, DB1? Let me see if I can catch this here.
I think it's db1.com, isn't it, Eric?
No, that's why I said let me catch it. DBE1.
Please, Robbie.
DBE1.com, and that's where you can catch. He does the Broadway unboxing, and they put it. That's what they put it on. They put it online and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. All right, let's go to the upcoming fights here. March 8th in London.
Friday.
Friday.
That's a Friday.
On ESPN Plus. Daniel Dubois versus Razvan Kajanu, 10 rounds heavyweights. Anthony Yard versus Travis Reeves, 10 rounds light heavyweights. And let me see if there's anybody else we would recognize on there. No, not really. Those are two good fights. Those are two fights I want to see. Two fights I definitely want to see. I'll definitely be watching DAZN on Friday.
ESPN Plus.
I'll be watching DAZN on Friday too because ESPN Plus that's got that fight on. But on DAZN, March 8th from Milan, Italy. Robert, this is your kind of fight right here. Looks to me like it's a Danielle Scardina versus Henri.
Good luck, Eric.
Good
luck.
I don't know. Listen, it's super middleweight, 12 rounds. Listen, I'm not going to watch it anyway, all right? All right, anyway. Mexico City on March 8th on Robert's favorite station, Telemundo. Saul Baby Juarez versus Mario Andrade. Rematch, 10 rounds, junior flyweights. Julian Yedras versus Alejandro Villaseñor Hernandez. 8 rounds, strawweights. Robert, you can be tuned in?
No.
How dare you? How dare you? All right. Now, the big one. March 9th, Carson, California on Fox. It looks like the big Fox, too. Sean Porter versus Yordanis Ugas. 12 rounds for Porter's WBC welterweight title.
Yes, it is the big Fox.
All right. Abel Ramos versus Francisco Chia Santana, friend of the show. 10 rounds welterweights. And this is the one that I'm looking forward to the most, aside from the Santana fight. Efe Ajagba versus Amir Mansour, 8 rounds heavyweights. Amir Mansour can hit. He can crack, man.
But so can Jagba.
Yeah, I get that, man. That's why it's going to be a good fight. That's why I'm looking forward to it.
51.
Yeah, you won't see Mansour. You won't see Amir Mansour pulling a Curtis Pride and running out of the ring after the bell rings. That's for sure.
52. 52.
Would you say 52?
Oh, he is nuts.
He interrupted. He broke the record. 37. 37 during the Doug Fischer interview. He was interrupting Doug Fischer, then Doug Fischer had to go over the top and interrupt him back just so he could finish his sentence. Oh my God! Fucking nuts, this kid.
On March 9 in Verona, New York, on DAZN, your boy Dimitri Bivol versus Joe Smith Jr. 12 rounds for Bivol's WBA light heavyweight title. And a title fight underneath there, Maurice Hooker versus Mikel Lapierre. 12 rounds for Hooker's WBO junior welterweight title. Callum Johnson versus Shawnee Monahan, 10 rounds light heavyweights. Sergey Kuzmin versus Joey Dawecko, 10 rounds heavyweights. That's a good little card right there. That's a good card.
Yeah, not too bad.
DAZN. Look at DAZN running it in. And that's it. That's the fights this weekend, man. There you go. All right. So let's get to the news. Incidentally, all right, so let me tell you how little Jason knows about boxing. And, Beeb, check this out, because you can answer this. Jason said that the best punch to throw in boxing is a jab to the body.
That makes absolutely no sense, but okay.
That's like saying the best pitch in baseball is the eephus pitch. You know what the eephus pitch is?
No.
Throw the ball underhand. Please, Robbie.
Please, Beeb. Please, Beeb.
So the reason you don't throw a jab to the body, it's actually a no-no. I mean, unless you're like really like Floyd Mayweather used to do it all the time, but Floyd Mayweather's a pretty gifted fighter. But if you throw the jab to the body, you're going to get countered with an overhand right. Just leaves you wide open. So, yeah, okay.
Like when he throws the jab to the body, does he have the 22-ounce gloves on? Huh?
He's got the 22-ounce gloves. That's right.
Well, we don't call him the keyboard cowboy for nothing.
Man, oh, man. If you guys want to call in, you can call in now, 323-870-3857. Guys, listen, I love you, but we got to get these likes up, man. There's a bunch of people watching right now. We got 25 likes. Come on, man, hit the like button.
There's 40 people. There's 44 people in this goddamn chat. Everybody, hit the like button right
like
now.
Button already. What are you guys
Hit the like
doing?
button.
Listen, I'm not asking you to work in a coal mine. I'm just asking you to hit the like button.
We just gave you the editor from Ring Magazine, Doug Fischer, and he was here for what, an hour?
We're trying to run down Steve Kim next week. For you guys. Come on. Hit the like button, guys.
Hit the goddamn like button.
You're going to make me beg. Look at you guys. You shameless.
Where's Jason? He left.
He left. Yeah, he left. He was irritated. He was irritated because we had Doug Fischer on here.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to be even more irritated next week when we have Steve Kim.
Yeah, he was pretty irritated about that. He's like a big BBC guy, and he's like, well,
yeah.
And he was asking us. He was like, well, ask him about this and ask him about the zone. And we already asked him. We asked him about it.
We covered a lot of stuff with him. That was great.
That was awesome, man. I mean, I could have talked to him for the whole show.
That's right.
Ask him why he talks so bad about BBC.
Why does he diss PPC like that? Maniac.
Give him a pacifier.
Why does he make fun of my boyfriend Tay?
Notorious Corey Lee is not on hold.
Good.
Brandon Turner, salute. Notorious BC, salute. Champ Ross, salute. Tony Yayo, salute. Andres Kiana, salute. Centurion Sun, salute. Champ Ross, salute. Kareem, salute. Tony Lopez 40 ounce, salute. Or Joe Lopez 40 ounce, salute. Tony Yayo, salute. Champ Ross, salute. Kareem, salute. Harvard 92, salute.
That's right. All right, let's go to our news and rumors here, man. Tyson Fury will not fight Wilder next. Now, we covered this earlier on in the week, but in case you haven't heard it, as we reported earlier in the week, Tyson Fury will not fight Wilder next. He's opted for another fight instead. We don't know who that'll be, but that leaves Wilder to face Dominic Breazeale next, and he's pretty much said that as much, in interviews and everything like that. Wilder said now he has no interest in fighting Fury. He now wants Joshua. It seems like just a couple of weeks ago he had no interest in fighting Joshua. He just wanted Fury. But, Beeb, you were a big proponent of, or a big opponent of Tyson Fury taking this deal with ESPN.
I hate the deal.
Now, what do you think of what Fischer had, his take on it? What were your thoughts on that?
I disagree with him vehemently because he throws himself out of a title shot for the next 2 years. And he has a style that the American public is not going to like. He's not going to be able to get popular just from his mouth alone. And there's no way he's going to become more popular than Deontay Wilder in the States. I just don't see it.
I was going to ask you that. I mean, because you think about it. Did Floyd Mayweather have a crowd-pleasing style, though?
No.
Early on in his career, he did.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he wasn't making any money then.
And Floyd Mayweather is a welterweight. He's not a heavyweight. And honestly, Floyd Mayweather did have some good fights too. And you know why people bought Floyd Mayweather fights?
See him lose.
Because they
wanted to see him lose.
So, and also this is another thing you're forgetting. How long did it take Floyd Mayweather to get where he got?
Took him quite a while.
Okay. So,
yeah.
So do you have 10 years to wait around? Is this ESPN contract with Tyson Fury 10 years? Because that's how long it took. That's how long it took Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather didn't get popular until 2007, and he turned pro in 1996. So how many years is that?
11.
A long time, right?
Yep.
So
it took him 11 years to build this brand. Oh, it's one for me.
So, Robert, let me ask you, like, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts that Tyson Fury is not, when you heard the news, Tyson Fury is not going to not going to fight Wilder next? What did you think about this?
Well, when we did a show earlier this week, my opinion has not changed. I think it sucks. He proved in the Wilder fight he belonged there. He actually got up from Wilder's devastating knockout punch, not once, but twice, and actually fought back after the second knockdown, after the knockdown in the 12th. I mean, look, just like I have a problem with Crawford signing the extension with Top Rank, and everybody said, oh, it's security, he's comfortable. But Fury is going to find himself in the same position that Crawford is in. He's going to find himself in the same position that Lomachenko is in. The people he should be the people that all three of those guys should be fighting are somewhere else. And yet all three of you, Lomachenko, Crawford, and Fury, have locked themselves up with Bob Arum and Top Rank. And Doug Fischer said, well, if there's enough money, the fights will be made. But how long do we have to wait as boxing fans to wait for those fights to occur? I mean, does anybody think that Terrence Crawford, Amir Khan, is a pay-per-view fight? No, they don't.
No, it's disappointing.
Because of the amount of money that Tyson Fury is now going to make from this deal, you watch. Whoever he fights next is going to be either on ESPN Plus or they're going to put it on ESPN pay-per-view.
Eric, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
ESPN and Fox, this is going to be it's going to be their first pay-per-view, correct? Yes. I don't recall either network ever doing a pay-per-view before, have you?
No, they never have.
Well, or was it Top Rank paper? I think it was Top Rank did a pay-per-view.
It was Top Rank has a pay-per-view company. Yes, they do. They do it. So this is going to be interesting to see how both fights do in terms of sales, right?
Right.
I'm more curious.
Fox has got the better fight, though. I mean,
yeah, but that's what I was about to say. I said I'm more curious to see how Fox does because they actually have been pushing the fight and promoting the fight a lot better too. Like how many? Again, Eric, right? This is why I told you about why this ESPN deal is not the greatest. How many commercials have you seen for Crawford Khan on ESPN? Well,
in fairness, though, their fight is in 2 weeks. Crawford Khan is until April, correct? Mid-April?
April 20th, yep.
Yeah.
April 20th.
But they were promoting this fight well for the last month and a half, no?
Yeah, they really have been. They really have been.
And we haven't seen one commercial. We haven't seen one commercial on ESPN.
Right, and not to mention they're doing the fight camps and the face-to-face and all that. That face-to-face was good. Did you watch the face-to-face?
I saw a little bit of it on YouTube, but I actually got everything. I was smart today because I listened to Jason after he spammed my Facebook 50,000 times, my messenger. I actually said all the series that he recommended to me.
Yeah.
I set the DVR just to record all the series.
Yeah. It was good. The face-to-face was good. I'm not real crazy about the fight camps or anything like that. I don't really care too much, honestly.
Oh, you don't like the fact that he bought Big G a nice truck? You see the truck he bought, Big G? His dad?
Well, and during the NASCAR race today, they promoted
60,
the fight several
62.
times. Come on, Joe. Like I started to say, during the NASCAR race today, they promoted the fight several times today.
Yeah.
So.
The with the fight camp stuff, man, and like you said, he bought somebody a car or somebody. Nobody cares about that stuff. At least
it was a nice truck. It was a wicked nice truck, though, Eric.
Well, there's always that, There's always that. Yeah, but I'm not a big fan of any of that stuff, I could take it or leave it, All right. Let's see here. Oh, I got to call Elena down, but she's not here. All right. Let's talk about this. Ivan Baranchyk is training for the World Boxing Super Series. This is funny because Baranchyk's trainer gave an interview earlier this week and said, yes, Branchek is fighting Josh Taylor, which completely contradicts what his manager said a couple of weeks ago. We'll see if it happens. But what are your thoughts on this?
Another fake source. I'm shocked. I didn't expect it. I didn't see it coming.
ESPN interviewed what's-his-face, David McWater, which is his manager, and he says, "No, we're pulling out, blah, blah, blah. We're pulling out, this and that."
Fake source.
Fake source.
But Eric, if you remember, though, a few weeks ago when we talked about this, when you read the statement from the Super Series itself, they said, "Hey, we had a tight contract. There's no way you're going to get out of it." So I'm not surprised that he's back in the gym, because he realizes he would be committing career suicide trying to get out of this contract. He'd be spending more time in the courtroom than he would be in the gym or in the ring.
I think so too. I think that's a big deal, man. I think that if he did take it, or if he chose not to take it and chose to go fight this thing, he's going to be out for a long time. I was surprised that the manager kind of went this route on it. You know what I mean? I was surprised that he went this route on it. I really am. But it doesn't surprise me that he's going to be fighting Josh Taylor. I mean, when Sauerland came out and said, "Hey, those are long-term contracts," or those are solid contracts. Watertight is what they called it.
Yep.
That's a tough thing, man. That's a tough thing. And look what happened. We've all seen it. We've all seen people try to get out of contracts and this and that. They got him locked up, man.
Robbie tried to get out of his Ringside Reporter contract. He couldn't.
No. Hey, look at Mikey Garcia. He wasted 2.5 years of his career by fighting Bob Arum and that contract. So, sometimes when fighters want to pull out of something, they better read the fine print or have somebody advise them, because, you don't want to destroy your career. I mean, luckily for Andre Ward's case, for Mikey Garcia's case, he's been able to come back and have good fights. But blowing almost 3 years of your career is not advisable, man.
Gonna do a quick vote in the chat.
All right.
And everyone who wants Jason to get his wrench back, hit 1. If you don't want Jason to get his wrench back, hit 2.
Everybody hit 2.
His wrench back.
We're gonna vote on Jason getting his wrench back.
Everybody
I just
hit
pulled
2.
my trump card, son. He ain't getting his wrench back.
Nope.
Oh, look at all the 2s. Look at all the 2s. No one wants him to get his wrench back.
That's right.
I think I'm gonna give it.
He needs to be in the shadows like his boy Al Heyman. So
I'm gonna give it back to him next week.
You're gonna give it back to him next week.
He voted for himself. He voted for himself. He voted for himself.
I tell you what, Jason's got to call in. He's got to call in and explain himself. If he wants his rents back, he's got to call in and explain himself. You know what I mean?
Well, he's too distraught. He had to hear from Doug Fischer, and next week he'll have to hear from Steve Kim. So
I don't understand why you got these guys on here. They hate PVC. All right, let's get into the train wreck of the week. Elena, come on over here.
Chugga, 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 choo, choo.
There you go.
Love it. Love it.
Look at Elena. Those voice lessons, boy, those voice lessons paying off. She's got the voice of an angel. How about that? All right.
Pretty soon you'll be doing hair and makeup and fashion things, and
That's right.
She'll be demanding all kinds of things.
That's
78.
What's that?
Give me a break, Joe.
Oh, 78. Carl Froch is our train wreck of the week. This guy is an absolute moron. So when he's giving an interview, they're talking about James DeGale. You remember the interview when they were talking to Floyd? When he was there, he was talking to Floyd. They were interviewing Floyd Mayweather, and he turned it around and said, well, I sold out 80,000 seats at Wembley or something like that. You remember that?
Yep.
All right. So they were talking to him about James DeGale. He announced his retirement and everything like that. Carl Froch had the following to say. he was a great fighter, and he was an IBF champion. He won a world title. He made history. He was the first guy to ever do that, win a gold medal and then go on to win a world title. So you've got to have massive respect for him. But we're talking about the top level of the elite. Was he one of the best of the best? He wasn't. He was mixing it with the best, but he found wanting right at the top. But he got found wanting right at the top. If we'd have met in my career, I'd have been too strong for him. I'd have backed him up to the ropes. He'd have sat there with his guard up, and I would have absolutely smashed him to bits. What's wrong with this guy? Why would he say something like that? I mean, the guy is retiring. Why would he? I don't understand that. Help me out with that.
He's very salty. He's a bitter person.
He is, man. And why? I mean, he had a pretty good career and everything. I mean, he had a good career. I mean, do you think? I don't know if he'll go to the Hall of Fame. Maybe. I think he has the resume to go to the Hall of Fame. But why?
Yeah.
Why like dump all over like somebody else's accomplishments and everything like that? Like, dude, you had your time.
He's jealous, man. He's jealous.
I couldn't even begin to answer that question. I don't know why. It's a head scratcher.
It is. It's like, seriously, man, what was wrong with this guy?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't get him. He's an idiot. Frotch is on coke. Guys in the chat are just like vicious, boy.
From this day, you'll be my new fool.
Georgie.
Hello, Georgie.
What's happening, people?
What's up?
Man, we're disrespecting the Cobra now. So the Cobra cannot express his emotions now, huh? What happened with the UK Pride people?
That wasn't UK Pride, man. That was him trying to pump himself up.
No, that was bitterness, man. You know, bitterness is what it was.
It's too salty, Georgie.
Yeah.
All right, baby, that's all shit talk. If you want shit talk, then we'll have no radio, fucking Ringside Reporter radio broadcast. Just, talking some shit, letting cementing something out, man, putting something there in the verse. See what that shit translates into. And what it translates into, we're talking about it. Boom. Accomplished. Let's move on to fucking, Ortiz, the Cuban, man, that Cuban school of boxing. Lara looking old. Ortiz, that motherfucker is like Asian dust. Slow as molasses, B. Man, all these fucking AJ fans. I mean, I'm an AJ fan all the way. Shout out to the UK. But, UK fan, they're going vicious out there. Talking about this supposed to be the killer who's going to be AJ. This is what Wild they're talking about. If you fight him, then I fight you. That ain't looking good now, huh? Thoughts, people, thoughts.
That could be Joshua's next opponent.
Yo.
Yeah.
You never know.
That could be Joshua's next opponent.
Ortiz.
Yo, people are crazy, for real.
If Wilder says no.
Yeah,
Wilder says no.
I think that might happen, yeah.
That's his next opponent. If Wilder says
no.
no.
Can we agree that the of Ortiz being the so-called boogeyman is gone?
Yes.
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 Sure.
So we're talking about, they're saying about Fury knocking this guy down, what was it, on 2015? Fury knocked down Hammer.
Yeah, he knocked him out.
Tyson Fury knocked him out. Yeah, Tyson Fury
knocked him out, yeah.
2015, when was it? How long was it ago?
It was a while ago.
It was a while ago.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was a while ago. And so Ortiz should have been able to finish this guy.
That's what I'm saying, but they start bringing this comparison, so it's food. This is what I'm saying. This is food for the AJ fans.
It's a good fight.
And all the UK wave.
Yeah, so, AJ would kill that guy.
I don't
AJ
know,
would
man.
Kill that guy, son. That's not even.
It's like, listen, we gotta understand something. Like boxing translate into the human spirit, and doesn't know boundaries about no countries and nothing. And right now, my dude, there is two places where boxing is popping around the world, unstoppable. That's the UK, and that's Mexico. I ain't saying popping around the world nowhere else. Like, you see a lot of channels that criticize a lot of UK fans and whatnot, and how they blind, cheap, you know, that they going only, you know, for their guy and whatnot. But they wouldn't even dare talking about the Mexicans here. Why? Because Mexicans are the long of boxing in the USA. It wouldn't be for Mexicans. Well, as a matter of fact, what the fuck I'm saying? Who's the #1 pay-per-view side? Ain't Canelo?
Yeah, it'd be Canelo. It'd be
That's
Canelo.
someone set up right there. That's someone set up right there. And before anything, baby, I'm USA all day, a citizen. I love you, baby. I love the States. But, yo, the UK pushing hard, and they shining right now. And if you love boxing, you got to give these people some love. Am I right or wrong?
You're 100% right, Georgie. You're always right.
Yep, keep going, George. Keep going. You're
Yo,
doing good.
Yo, no, you're not gonna like me now, Robbie. I'm gonna ask why you didn't ask Dougie what happened with the utensil that the oil used in the kitchen. What's up with that shit? How come nobody asking that? Crickets, ladies and gentlemen, crickets.
Well, Robbie and Dougie. Robbie.
Supposed to have some type of serious.
Hey, I didn't even understand what you said, Georgie. Let alone.
But Robbie and Dougie are both from California.
Now you understand, huh?
Robbie and Dougie are both from California, so Georgie, Robbie and Dougie are both from California. Robbie and Dougie
we are.
California, so they may see each other like in the supermarket. And Robbie doesn't want to get challenged by Dougie.
That's right.
He's home cooking all the way, baby. He's just teaching the soft questions, softballs. No real question whatsoever. No, but I mean, all seriousness. Y de la olla lifestyle. Isn't that, I mean, because I don't want to really deep into it, but you got to talk about it. If
about
this man
lifestyle
lifestyle is about this, man, all kind of shit. We got to put Jason on the line. Jason got the scoop. I heard he was there filming too. He got the live video. Got it up there in Georgia in his basement.
Live kitchen video.
But listen. Yo, but for real, man, this is what I'm saying. This main character is like that. And he's part owner of the Ring magazine, is he?
Yeah, Delaware.
No, he's the Oscar owns the magazine.
Right.
Dougie Fischer is the editor of the magazine. That's the difference.
Straight up owns it. Yeah,
Yes.
but baby, if the dude who's paying you, come on, man. Dougie said it between words. He's like, yo, don't take shot at me, because I ain't no communist, and I like my life fucking bill being paid off, and I like driving my car, and I like my shit. So, Dougie, I feel you, baby. I know what you're saying, but at the same time, these people got to be held to a standard. So whatever the fuck you write, people really not going to give a fuck. Who's that? Okay, well, listen, since De La Hoya bought the magazine, that used to be the fucking Bible of boxing. On some real shit, I don't give a fuck about the Ring magazine no more after that happened. I just don't. I'm sorry. I mean, this is why I separate from the rest of the human race, Eric.
I think so. I think everybody likes Ring magazine. Who doesn't read Ring magazine? Come on, you've never read Ring magazine? My wife just raised her hand. You've never read Ring magazine before?
Ring magazine is the Bible of boxing, Georgie. It always has been and always will be.
What's the matter with you? Come on.
No, hold on,
90
baby.
seconds.
Hold on. This is why I gotta listen, man. This. I'm not gonna say that these people are corrupt the way the WBC mafia is and the rest of the conglomerate. And yeah, they got objectivity to a point. But like I said before, when somebody fucking got a fucked up life like De La Hoya and he owned the fucking Ring magazine, how much really fucking dirt he put into the thing?
60
I don't
seconds.
know, man. I can just not vouch for it. Whatever, man. Great interview. All respect to Dougie and whatnot. But that's how I live it. Moving along, people. Gotta make this quick. Listen, Eric.
Yes.
It's over, baby. You got what, like a week and a half?
You got 2 weeks
before you send
to
to
shine
retirement.
that title up real nice.
2 weeks.
You got 2 weeks to hang on to it, son.
You make it.
2
You make
weeks,
your last
son.
will already. I don't think you're gonna survive this fight. It's gonna be a heavy one.
Weeks.
And then, Georgie, when you win that title, I don't want you ever giving him a shot at it again.
You know what? I'll put it on the line here. If you win in 2 weeks,
Going to retirement,
I will
people.
retire.
This is what's going to happen. The man gonna feel,
10
I will
seconds.
retire.
feel so
Because it
guilty.
ain't going to happen, son.
Listen. Yo, Beeb, I got him with this one. Check this out. Every going to retire, he's going to feel so bad that he's half Dominican, half Puerto Rican. Got some more Mexican warrior that he has. Give him a body back. I got him with that one. Yo, everybody out there support the channel. Give the thumb up. Shout out to the UK, Boston, Windsor, Wartown, Seven Hills, repping 508. I'm outie. Ringside Reporter champ.
Ringside Reporter champ. Notice how he clocked out right at 9 o'clock right when the lights go out at Rikers.
Tommy
All right.
Buck, salute. Salute. Dwayne M.
Say hello to hey Georgie. Say hello to Mr. Gotti for me.
97. Boxing Killer TV, salute.
Mr. Gotti. All right. Real quick before we go back to the phones, Eusebio Pedrosa passed away this week. Just in case you don't know who he is, very good boxer, man. One of the greats. Defended his title 19 times between 1978 and 1985. Pedrosa's reign ended, of course, in London against the great Barry McGuigan. I heard Pedrosa was sick a couple of weeks ago, man. It kind of took me by surprise because they were saying that, he was really sick, And it was like Rocky Lockridge. I think they were talking about him and Rocky Lockridge. And then like a couple days later, like Rocky Lockridge passed away. And the way they were talking, I mean, I don't know if that was expected or not or what the deal was with that, but I know it took me by surprise. Lockridge and Pedrosa had a history, man. They fought twice, and Pedrosa won both times. So there you go. All right, let's go back here. Let's go back to the phones.
He's a fucking mental case is what he is.
Jason Shaw, salute.
Good night, Robbie. I think it's past your bedtime, Robbie. Good night.
Robbie
Oh
Herrick.
no, I'm just getting started, brother.
Hey,
Robbie Herrick, salute.
Shut up, dude. You interrupted enough for tonight. Just shut up and let me speak. Just put yourself on mute. Jesus Christ. Rob, Beeb, did you? Thanks for asking that fucking fraud. What's his name? Dougie. Yeah, about that fucking PBC shit. Did you see how he?
I did it for you. I did it for you.
Guerrero? I know. Let me tell you how phony he is. Did you see how he fixated on Thurman versus Guerrero like it was some fucking horrible fight? Like, this fucking clown, dude. I mean, this is the same guy that was praising Canelo for fucking knocking out Kirkland, who's a punching bag, who had been retired for 2 years before Canelo cherry-picked him. And these are the same people that used to praise Canelo for... And this is the same guy that used to praise Canelo for beating that bum Angulo on pay-per-view. And these guys are bashing PBC for putting Thurman versus Guerrero on free TV. Does that make any sense to you, Beeb? Because it doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I didn't think he gave me a great answer. I didn't think he gave me a great answer.
Yeah, he was just regurgitating those talking points, right? Lazy talking points. Like, he had no answer, just lazy fucking points that they pass around to each other. What's wrong with Thurman versus Guerrero? I mean, if you're gonna put Kirkland versus Canelo and call it the fight of the year, that's what Lampley said. Kirkland Canelo was the fight of the year. Kirkland was like a fucking punching bag. That guy had been knocked out in one round by some Japanese journeymen. I mean, these are the kind of... And Robbie was fucking sucking his balls over there, not even saying shit about all this fucking I don't care if they both live in California. Shit, who cares? I mean, California is a big fucking state. I mean, Jesus Christ.
A lot of people live in California.
He doesn't want Dougie to run up on that Publix.
Yeah, but what was that about? The Thurman versus Guerrero? Was that such? Eric, was Thurman versus Guerrero such a bad?
Publix, not Publix. What are you talking about?
I don't know. He's speaking different language today.
I live in California. I don't know what that place is.
Tell him,
Robbie was acting like he's his fucking next door neighbor, like a little fucking pussy. Robbie, you need to fucking man up and ask some fucking tough questions. We don't need you to fucking blow him on fucking air and shit. I mean, leave that for Twitter. Come on, man. Jesus Christ. And Eric also with his fucking girly laugh in the background, fucking greasing fucking
did I ask him,
Dougie's balls
did
like
you
a
hear the
little
interview?
groupie.
I asked some tough questions. Son.
And he gave good answers, man. Gave good answers.
Gave really good answers.
Not Robbie, let me ask you, what was so bad about Thurman? Hey, Robbie, what was so bad about Thurman versus Guerrero that these morons talk about? Oh, PBC put Thurman versus Guerrero on free TV. That's bad for boxing. Was that fight that bad?
No, that fight was not. That fight was not that bad, but it wasn't a classic either.
Right.
Eric, do they have Publix in Ohio?
Classic. I mean,
they don't have Publix in Ohio. No, they have Kroger.
Also, guys, hey, Beeb, did you hear him complain about Danny versus Peterson? What the fuck is wrong with this guy? Danny versus Peterson was a good fight. Why would you complain about that being on free TV? Like, I didn't understand what his points were. Like, why would you complain about Danny versus Peterson? That's a great fight. That's a 50-50 fight.
I don't know.
I think we like drunk Jason better. He was calmer.
His argument. I am drunk. I'm drinking some whiskey right now too, but I just haven't finished it.
Well, go ahead and finish it and call back.
Did you guys watch Fight Camp? Did you guys watch Fight Camp today? Conor McGregor had like 3 commercials during the whole episode, like 3 different commercials for the whiskey.
No, I didn't waste my time.
You didn't watch?
Wow.
I DVR'd it.
You didn't watch it, Eric?
I DVR'd it. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it after the show. I'm gonna watch it after the show.
The countdown is like they just sit at the gym and go to their old fight. Countdown is like that. It's kind of boring, but the Fight Camp is fun.
I'm gonna tell you what was good.
Ellie Seckback was on there, dude. Yeah, but I'm telling you, Fight Camp is good. You need to watch it. Also, Ellie Seckback was sparring fucking Mikey Garcia's Gardner on there. Some 70-year-old dude.
So what do you want
to
do?
They made him spar just for fun.
Who the hell cares about that crap anyway?
Dude, Ellie Seckback is way more interested in Dougie Fischer. Robbie, pipe down. Jesus Christ.
No, he's really not.
No, that was one of our better interviews, Jason. You're lost.
Also, guys, you guys got to stop bashing fucking Ortiz just because he went fucking distance for a change. I mean, he knocked out that Castano guy in 2 rounds, and Parker went 12 rounds with him.
He looked awful. I don't know what you were watching.
He's 40 years old, you moron. He's 40.
Yeah, Father Time is working, man.
That's the point. That's why he was getting bashed.
Hey, Robbie, didn't Parker go 12 rounds with Castano and Ortiz just knocked him out in 2 rounds like 6 months ago?
Tyson Fury.
So what does that say about Parker?
Last night.
Tyson Fury knocked out Hammer, man.
So what, dude? Tyson Fury's like 30 years old. Ortiz is
40. What you need? Salute.
Years ago too.
What you need? Salute.
But I don't get why don't you guys bash fucking Joseph Parker? That fucking bum like 4 rounds with Castano. I mean, Ortiz folded him up in 2 rounds.
Why are we bashing Joseph Parker? Who's he fighting?
You guys don't play that.
Who's he fighting?
You guys don't.
Louis Ortiz is 40 years old, and he looked it, man.
Who's he fighting next?
Well, Luis Ortiz is 40, and 6 months ago he folded Castano in 2 rounds.
Smash that like button.
Fold Castano in 2 rounds. I went 12 with it. Yeah, hit that like button.
Smash that like button.
Spammers out of there, man.
Yeah,
there's a lot of spammers.
I'm smash that like button, man. I don't care. I like that.
What?
I'm stealing it. I'm stealing it. Smash that like button.
Smash that like button.
All these fucking British fanboys in the chat are fucking retarded. They're talking about PBC. They're talking about PBC's having a bad year. PBC is kicking ESPN's ass. I mean, Jesus.
Leave the UK alone, Jason.
Corley Boxing, salute.
Hey, did you guys watch Gary Russell's little brother on the stream last night? He's pretty good. The other brother.
No, they're all good. They're all good.
They're all good, man.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I didn't see him. This is the first time I saw him last night.
It's time for Big Brother to get his butt in the ring, though.
Smash the motherfucking like button.
He's coming around May. You know, he always comes May. What'd you say, Robbie? What'd you say, Beeb?
Smash the motherfucking like button.
What's wrong with this guy?
Dude, I got you guys lights up to 35. I've been
hey, I hope people
come on.
I hope people listening to this don't have kids in the car, for God's sake. Jeez.
Why would people be with kids with cars listening to this shit, man? Come on, Robbie.
Robbie, it's 9 o'clock at night. It's 9 o'clock at night on a Sunday night.
I know, man.
What are kids in a car going to be doing right now?
Well, it's only 6 o'clock out here in California, brother.
What time does Publix close over there?
Publix? What is Publix?
Smash that motherfucking like button.
Did you say Publix?
Smash that motherfucking like button.
He pronounces it Publix.
Jesus Christ.
It's Publix. It's Publix.
So
Hey, what did you guys think about a Navarrete Dogbo rematch? That's in play for the Berchel Vargas card. You guys like that?
Coach Big C, salute.
Hey, the coach is the one. The coach is the one that called in the other day. They even put on the best call we've ever heard.
Please, Robbie, stop sucking.
Oh yeah, let him call in. That guy from that coach guy, call in. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he did a good job when he called in.
He's really good.
Yeah,
he blew you out of the water, Jason. He blew you out of the water, Jason.
Wow.
Dude, I call in every week. I can't be good every fucking week. Come on now. If I called in once every 6 months, I'd be good like that too.
Hey, you're supposed to be at the top of your game like Al Heyman.
I was so impressed with that 11-year-old kid's call last week. That was nice.
That was very good. My only question is, what are you doing talking to 11-year-olds though?
He was talking to me. Called.
No. Jason. Jason's the one that got him to call in.
Dude,
Michael
Jackson.
Michael Jackson,
I
salute.
a channel on YouTube. I told him to call into your show.
Kelly,
I got
salute.
you new fans, dude.
We appreciate it, man. We love it. Love it, man.
Well, got to be careful about
finish
adults
your whiskey and
talking
toss off
to
to
kids,
some
man.
Secback videos now.
Hey, shut up for a second. Jesus Christ. What do you guys think about Navarrete Dogbo, man? You guys like that? Because I don't think Dogbo's probably even recovered yet. That guy's face was fucked up last fight. I don't think he should go back in that fight again.
Smash the motherfucking like button.
I don't know, man. It might be a little too soon. He did look pretty fucked up the last fight.
And what did you think about Castano? Weren't you people saying Castano is fucking some bum and shit? I told you guys to watch out for him.
Well, he put on a heck of a fight last night. That's
Jason, did you take that 11-year-old to friendlies?
Oh my God.
What'd you say?
Take that 11-year-old to friendlies?
What'd you say, Beeb?
You take that 11-year-old kid to friendlies?
Leave your gay jokes at home. Leave your jokes are lame.
I didn't say you were gay. Now you're copping to being gay.
Dude,
I didn't say you were gay.
He's calling your show talking boxing, and you're making. He's calling your show talking boxing. You're making sick jokes about some kid. I mean, have some fucking shame. No wonder you're fucking single. Come on, people.
What is this? What is this? Taxi cab confession?
No wonder you're single. Dude. Come on.
Oh my God! What?
I'm not single anymore. I went to Davio's last night with a nice girl.
Can this get any worse? For God's sake! Jeez.
I was in downtown Boston with a nice girl.
You was in downtown Boston with a nice
girl. I got a filet mignon. I got a filet mignon with a friggin' mousse cake, baby.
Nice. Jason's still trying to pin down Ali Sekback.
DJ Georgie Porgy, salute. Smash that motherfucking like button.
Oh my God.
Jesse Farkas, salute.
Jesse Farkas, is that what you said?
All right, I'm out, guys. I'll let him be. Salute everybody.
Oh.
Jason, have a great night. Salute.
See you later, Jason.
Oh my God. See you later, Jason. Corey Lee.
Corey Lee Boxing, salute. Whitney Peters, salute. Legendary Boxing, salute.
What's going on, man?
What's going on?
What's up?
Here comes the interruptions.
Man, y'all got an interesting show going on today, man.
It's
yeah, we sure the hell do, don't we?
107.
Golly, man. I mean, damn, man. Y'all just got it all, man. Y'all got Dougie Fischer, then y'all got just crazy. Now I'm on the show, man. So how's everybody doing? Eric,
pay the phone bill. Salute.
Robbie?
We're doing good.
Hey, yo, hey, Beeb, I got to tell you, man, because I told my brother that I would say it on live on the air, man. My brother cannot get over when you fucking told Jason, like, last week, when you told him, Brink, and stick you somewhere, baby.
What did I say?
That you would fold him up and stick him somewhere.
Oh yeah.
That's what we said. When you came to Boston, you was like, "Yo, we'll fold you up and stick you somewhere, baby. You wouldn't last 3 seconds out here."
I said, "Fold him up and stick him." No, he said, "You fold him up and stick him in the corner." That's what we say in Boston.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Talking shit, man. We'll fold you up and stick you in the corner. You know what my father used to say?
Yeah, man. I just had my brother just go crazy.
My father used to say, "I'll hit you with so many lefts, you'll be begging for a right." How you like that one, baby?
Yeah, man. So the fights this weekend, man. The fights this weekend, dude. I really got to talk about this dude, Luis Ortiz, man. I mean, obviously the Lara fight. I still think Lara had some effects from the Jared Hurd fight. I personally believe that, man. That guy got, punished in that fight, man. I mean, you just saw he almost beat the will out of Lara forever, man. I mean, it was a brutal fight, man. I truly believe the wars that Lara has been in. I think he should start thinking about retirement, man. I really do. I know nobody probably said that on the show yet, but Lara and Ortiz need to start thinking about retirement, man. Yeah. You got to get out of the sport when you can, man. I mean, come on, man. What is he in the sport for anymore? You're fucking getting a draw by a kid that's got, 15 professional fights? I mean, come on, man.
Yep,
you know,
15.
And he's not even the real champion. He's not even the real champion. He's the counterfeit, baby.
Steve Kim,
he's got the WBA counterfeit, baby.
Yeah, he's got the WBA regular.
Yeah, man. So like I said,
120,
man, I
120.
Believe that I truly believe that Lara should just think about maybe not the very next fight, but think about hanging it up, man. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're getting draws against guys with only 15 professional fights, I mean, and it's not even for the real belt. I mean, what are you doing with your career right now? You know what I mean? And then with Luis Ortiz, I got into a debate on my live stream with a couple guys, talking about Hammer, is a good, measuring stick, for fighters and stuff like that. And, he's a real resilient guy. I'm like, yeah, Hammer was real resilient. In his first professional fight, he got stretched the fuck out. Yeah, he's real resilient. He's a real, durable guy. He got stretched the fuck out in his first professional fight. His pro debut, he got stretched out, baby. But he's
Corey Lee's boxing.
So I'm like, when did Hammer become, this durable guy where, he's just, giving all of these boxers fits and shit? No, I truly believe that Ortiz is old, and I truly believe that he needs to think about hanging it up. Dude, if he fought Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder next, it would be night for this dude Ortiz. I'm being honest, man. I think it would be worse than the first time, man. I think it's all bad news for Luis Ortiz, man, if he rematches Wilder, man, in my personal opinion. Yes, a boxer can have an off night, man, but Lara and Ortiz, 2 off nights on the same card? I mean, what's the chances of that happening? You know what I'm
saying? And they're both from Cuba, and they're both from Cuba. They're both from Cuba, and they could be lying about their ages.
Rob, you don't have the birth certificate.
Yeah, man. So,
pretend like you work for the Social Security office. You don't work for the Social Security office, Robbie.
Oh.
And hey, they both defected too. So
137. Go ahead, Corey.
Oh man. But yeah, man. So when we think about Lara and Ortiz, you guys, what do you think they should do next in their career? I mean, like I said, if it was up to me, I would say maybe one more fight and then both think about retiring. I know they probably want to get that one fight, that one good fight left, but I mean, who do they fight? Does Ortiz does Ortiz even go 12 with Wilder or Joshua?
No.
When you think about Lara, Does Lara go 12 with Hurd in a rematch?
No.
I mean, I just don't see it, man. I just don't see it, man. I don't see it. And if you don't see that, then why are they in the sport? If you don't see that, then why are they in the sport? Period.
I think Lara.
What the fuck are you in the sport for if you won't go 12 rounds with the real champion?
Yeah, I think Lara should run that back.
Wrong.
No, you made some good points. I think Lara should run that back. I'd like to see a rematch. That was a good fight last night.
Yeah, no, I think they are going to rematch.
I wouldn't mind seeing them run that back. They'll probably fight again.
Smash the motherfucking like button.
Corey, please, boxing.
Yo, I had to do that shit, B. I had to get you, man.
All right.
But yeah, man. I mean, like I said, man, if you're not in the sport for the real belts, man, why are you in the sport at all, man? You know what I'm saying? You're taking blows unnecessarily. Castano is a pretty good fighter, young and up and coming fighter. His claim to fame is that he beat Errol Spence in the amateurs. So what?
Right.
Errol Spence probably stops Castano right now. I mean, I'm just being honest. I'm a realist.
Well, you saw him fight last night. You know he stopped
when it all said and done, man. Yeah. And when it's all said and done, you guys, the best need to fight the best, man. And I just don't think Lara and Ortiz in their own weight divisions are the best or even close to the best. I after that performance Lara put on last night, I'm throwing him out of the top 5, man. I'm throwing him out of the top 5, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm throwing him out of the top 5, man. I'm actually gonna put Castano ahead of him right now. I got Hurd, you got Harrison, you got Charlo, you got Castano. You could even do Julian J. Rock with. I think Erickson.
Whoa!
I think Erickson Lubin could possibly have a good night with Lara, man.
Wow.
Good name on his resume.
Wow.
I think Lubin. He got stretched one time, but maybe he got caught cold. I think he makes a good comeback. I think Lubin makes a good comeback, but 154 pounds is just on fire right now, man.
Yeah, man.
And I talked about the Harrison fight. You guys think Charlo even wins the rematch? Because they're talking about the rematch in May. Does Charlo win the rematch against Harrison?
Yeah, I think so. I think he does.
I'm not sure, man. I think Harrison fought a good fight. I thought he won.
I think he does. I think he beat
Eric, do you think he won? Did you think he won the first fight, Eric?
Yeah, I do. I thought he won. I did think he won the first fight. I had Charlo winning that fight.
You thought Charlo won the first fight?
No, I thought Harrison won the first fight.
No, I thought Charlo won it.
I had him winning 115, 113 on my card.
No, I thought the older Charlo lost his fight, or the 160 Charlo lost his fight, but the 154 Charlo won that fight.
I picked that one to lose too.
I thought Harrison boxed an awesome fight, man.
Yeah, but I still think he lost though.
Yeah,
but look, this is why I'm asking. Go ahead, bro.
Oh, I was just gonna say I thought Harrison won.
But this is what I was gonna say though. If you guys seen the first fight, right, Harrison versus Charlo, what the hell does Charlo do different? He got outboxed that night. I mean, what does he do different? It's not like he's gonna become this master boxer in the second fight. We all know both Charlo's claim to fame is power. And when the power is null and void, and you know how to mute the power, what do they have to fall back on? Both fighters have been outboxed in their career before.
Who won that fight, Robert? Who do you think
won
that
fight? So I just think when you get
Robert. Is he offline?
Robert fell asleep.
Well, I'm right here.
It's 6 p.m.
Were you not paying attention to something?
Oh,
Robbie, put down. Robbie, put down I'm sorry. Put down the Oreos, Robbie. Come on.
Corey, you're watching on Ringside Reporter next week.
Corey,
Finger!
Yeah,
I'm sorry. What was the question?
Don't worry about it.
Robbie.
All right.
You got caught falling asleep on the steering wheel, Robbie. Come on, man.
No. I'm a multitasker, man.
I would beg to differ.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Robbie, tell your mom you do the dishes.
Well, who do you like, though, Robbie? Who did you think won?
Oh, last night I had it a draw, Corey.
What, last night? What?
Who do you think won between Charlo and Harrison when they fought?
Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Mother of
Sorry.
God.
I thought he was asking about last. No, I thought Charlo won the first fight, man.
Sweet Christmas.
Hey, yo, I'm out, man. I'll let y'all finish the show on the
Corey Lee's Boxing! Back with another banger!
God, Beeb is out of control tonight.
Smash the motherfucking like button!
Beeb is out of control tonight. Man. Wow.
Oh, my God.
Jeez.
Mrs. Herrick, salute.
Notorious VC, salute. Sogo, salute. Dwayne M, salute. Tony Yayo, salute. Legendary Boxer, salute. Centurion Son, salute.
What you need? Double salute.
Oh, man.
All right, guys, that'll do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. That might do it for the rest of the year. I don't know.
Another banger next week.
What a show, man.
Smash that like button. As always, you can catch Robert on Twitter at Ringside Robert, or you can call Ringside Robbie's Corner at
area code 773-572-7781, and be sure to leave me messages.
There you go. You can catch Joe Habib on Twitter at JHabib1, and find our YouTube channel at I can't do it. I can't finish it.
At ringsidereporter.com.
No, ringsidereporterlive.com. Come on,
Ringside Reporter Live. Smash that motherfucking like button.
Oh, man.
I'm at Ringside 73, and we'll see you next week.
See you later, guys.
Yo,
what a show.
Everybody in the chat, salute. Smash the motherfucking like button.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.